Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome to ETN. ETN
God, it looks good.
Phase 2. We've got to get used to those bright lights. We've had a bit of a hiatus. How long?
We took the summer off. You know, we're European. It's what you got to do. No,
Well,
we've been working hard. We've been building what you can see behind us.
We got the guys in the
back. You can see our two lovely employees behind us too. They are smashing it, getting the tweets out. They're getting the emails out. They've actually been working harder than us, to be honest. We've just been drinking coffees and sitting on our beautiful Italian sofa, as you can see over there.
Coffee.
We should do a big wide camera angle. Can we get a wide camera up, Mr. Producer Sam? Look at the size of that.
We are open for business.
We should play a football game in here one day.
We are open for business. Let me just tell you guys the breakdown of today. We've announced a few guests already on our X profile that you can see, the standard procedure of how we typically run. But to just go across like what we want to be discussing, the guests that in fact, we could probably show off our new Airwallex agenda.
Let's pull up the Airwallex agenda. Airwallex, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Get at airwallex.com.
So we got Dominic Midori-Davis, senior reporter at TechCrunch, opening the show at 12:45. She was the one who covered our release, which you can see right now in TechCrunch. We've got Matthias Dopfner, CEO at Axel Springer, coming on to talk to us about journalism and AI. What is new media? How are those worlds colliding? Followed by Casper Lee, co-founder and general partner at Creator Ventures. He's going to be talking a bunch about the creator economy and what that means at the intersection of venture capital. Victor Raipabelli, CEO and co-founder of Synthesia, is back. He was actually on our first ever show.
He was. Nice full circle moment.
A great full circle moment. Victor is going to come on and talk about a new release that we'll be talking about with him live on the show, followed by George Robson, one of the youngest partners ever at Sequoia, coming back for his second time on ETN. We're going to be getting to tech sovereignty, OSS models, what the whole debate is right now about do we go to prop models, do we back open source? And then we've also got the man himself, Salim Mitha, the lead of our recent round, co-founder and managing partner at Powerhouse Capital. So it's going to be great to welcome him on to the show for the first time. But maybe, what have we been up to over the past month? What have we been doing? You won't have seen as much as you usually do from us. We have been on the road. We went to Raise Summit.
We did.
Shout out to the guys over there.
To the guys over there. They just got recently acquired, actually.
Yeah, they did. And congratulations to them. They've been running it for 3 years. It was a great event. We had dinner in the Palace of Versailles. We saw our boy Philip Johnson over there at StyleCloud doing God's work.
He did.
And a bunch of other who's
who Jan Lee Kun
of tech. Jan Lee Kun was there, but I was too scared to go over to him. And I kind of regret that a little bit. I walked past the table at one point, and him and another individual, I'm not sure who it was, they were reviewing.
This was like 10 p.m. Everyone had a few champagnes as well.
They had it up on an iPad. And they were just reviewing research at the party, which was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why he raised one of the largest European seed rounds ever.
He's one of the goats. He's one of the goats. But apart from that, we have been building the studio that you see behind us, and we have raised 1.6 million seed round. So the round you can see in TechCrunch right now, it was led by Powerhouse Capital with support from a number of angels, including angels from OpenAI, from DeepMind, the co-founder of LadBible, Arian, Casper Lee, and also Axel Springer have come in to support as well, which we're incredibly excited to. So you'll see today, based off the guests that we have on, a lot of the conversations will be about this new round. What does it mean for ETN? What does it mean for Europe? What does it mean for new media? But before we get into all that stuff, I want to tell you about some of our friends specifically. I'm going to have to get used to this new layout, but our friends specifically, Polymarket. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed. Profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com in order to do that.
I also realized that I've got a lovely Polymarket
You've got a
card holder.
You've got a card
Thanks
holder.
to the guys at Polymarket. I use this all the time. So they're good for profiting from your knowledge, but also holding your bank cards.
Holding your bank cards
when
as
you
well.
need them. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to our TechCrunch article because we're going to read this out. We're going to explain a little bit about why we've raised the round.
I've not read this.
I haven't read it either, so it could be
This
could
went
be
out
a
at
bash
11.
article.
It could be a hit piece. I hope it is. Well, we have Dominic coming on, so we can ask her. Ask her
If it
herself.
is a hit piece, we can grill why it's a hit piece.
So we can just read this out here. But Europe got its own TBPN-style live show, and everyone's angling for a guest spot. The European answer to TBN is here and ready to go live 5 days a week starting June 27th. That is today. Welcome to the first episode. Luke Knight and Ronan Chambers first launched the London-based European Technology Network, in brackets ETN. They've capitalized that. I'm not going to lie, kind of dig the capitalization there. Last October, breaking down tech trends and news during a 2-day-a-week live stream. Right now, the show is live streamed on X and YouTube and has generated more than 5 million views in the last month that we were filming. On Monday, the network has announced a 1.6 million seed round from top players in the media ecosystem. I just want to say quickly, this feels so weird. Because, we've been doing this for 8 months, and it's always like we're reviewing.
Yeah, let's review 11
else.
Labs hitting 500 million ARR. Let's now review 11 Labs hitting 550 million ARR.
Let's review our 1.6 million pre-seed round, seed round.
But yeah, now we're reviewing
It's
ours.
very
It's
weird
very
to
strange.
review ourselves.
It is.
But there's
Please,
loads of
carry
great stuff in here. And it talks about the cap table a little bit as well. Players in the media ecosystem, including Powerhouse Capital, Axel Springer, co-founder of Lad Bible, has come in as an angel investor, and also angel investors from OpenAI and DeepMind. With fresh capital, the network is announcing its largest expansion yet.
It really is.
Which is true. We've built this studio. We're going 5 days a week. We were previously 2 days a week. And people might be wondering, why the shift? Why did you need to go ahead and go 5 days a week? And I want to give a shout out to an individual. When we initially launched ETN back in October, somebody quote tweeted our launch post, if you remember, says launches European TBPN, only goes live 2 days a week. Like, makes sense.
You have to do it.
So look, we quickly realized that the pace at which the ecosystem is moving, the pace at which the founders and the venture partners and the operators and also X was moving at, we were struggling to keep up with 2 days a week. We were getting between 60 and 70.
We had 60 to 70 guest pitches every single week. And we were filling those 2 days. Each day was between 6 and 10 guests, sometimes more. We would be running over. We were live back then 11 till 2 p.m. GMT. And we would go 10:30. We'd be like, we'll just increase it by 30 minutes. But now we don't have to do that. Now we can spread across the 5 days. We can have more formats. We can do whatever we like with this studio. That is the point.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we raised this money, to allow us to have that creative freedom. I think we were boxed in before.
Talking about creative freedom, let me tell you about our friends over there at Framer. Framer build better sites faster. They're all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. We migrated ETN to Framer ourselves. It was easy. Our new site is actually live right now.
Yeah, please go to etnshow.co right now. You will see our beautiful new site. Looks lovely. I hope everyone likes the rebrand.
On Framer.
Built entirely on Framer. It looks great. It has all of our lovely sponsors there. Even Framer is there, as usual. We have a daily newsletter. Please go and sign up to that. Just go to etnshow.co. If you want anything, want a guest on the show, go and do that. If you want to be a sponsor, go to the site. If you want to do anything, just go to etnshow.co. That's all you got to do.
As we were saying, we were getting between 60 and 70 pitches a week. So a lot of the conversations around this were, is there enough news in Europe? Is there enough stuff to cover? Like, the answer is yes, because we've seen it all. We've literally seen this in our inbox. There are hundreds of pitches coming through every week. We had to choose, what would our audience want to hear about? What were really important messages coming out of the ecosystem in terms of raises, in terms of product pushes, in terms of senior hires, in terms of everything. And it got to a point where we just could not keep up with the amount of news coming out. So that is a huge reason why we have moved this thing to 5 days a week. We want to continue to elevate the conversations in Europe. We want to continue to give a stage to the founders, to the venture capitalists, to the operators, to anyone in the ecosystem that is trying to push the frontier. So yeah, that is why we are now 5 days a week. And man, it is so good to be back. We were like, taking a month out in this world
Is awful.
Is awful, yeah. But what I also realized is because
I don't like it. I don't like sitting on a beach.
We'd see such
chilling.
amazing news, and we'd be like, I wish we could report on that, or I wish we could, have do a post about that. So a lot of it was just offline, but it's insane how fast the space moves, and I've realized that from taking, not sitting a month out. We're obviously building all this stuff, which took a long time and like setting up some new partnerships and whatnot. But you really do feel like you're getting left behind almost if you're not so frequently on it. Like there's loads of running jokes on X about you need to be unemployed to keep up with how fast they're moving.
Everything. Yeah.
But there's two options. Like you either need to be unemployed to keep up with how fast things are moving, or your job needs to be monitoring how fast things are moving. Like that's what I've realized. Like it genuinely is true because like everything is changing so fast. So yeah, I mean,
and hence why we're here. Hence why we have a job. Literally.
That's our job.
Looking at this.
To look at X all day. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's great.
That's our
and
new
those
job.
two as well. So we actually have 4 people looking at X every single day.
Can we pan
just about.
to Alex and Max? Is that possible?
Guys, say hi
I'd
to
love
the
to
camera.
just see if we can.
Is this going to work?
Show. I mean, they've already met Alex.
We don't
our chief of
100%
staff.
know
We introduced him when
the
CEO Vercel was
lengths of
coming
the
in.
studio. There we go. Go and say hi, guys.
So we're going to be live streaming the whole build of the company as well. You will see this company grow. We're going to be live streaming the whole thing. It'll be in the back, so everyone.
So Alex actually said this to me today. He said, "This is going to be the first time in history." Oh, there we go. Look at that. Say hi, guys. Alex said to me today, "This is going to be the first time in history that a company is live streaming the daily growth of the company. When we hire someone, you'll see them in that chair over there. When a guest is coming on the show, you'll see them in that chair there. When we upgrade the studio, when anything happens, you will see everything going on behind us. There is a wall in front of us, so you will see everything else behind us.
It's kind of old
everything
school.
That we do.
It's kind of like the Bloomberg, Sky News type. When the reporters are on the desk and they're shuffling their papers around or whatever, or they're maybe talking, you can see some. What's the word? Like.
Well, you can see the newsroom.
Yeah, but like you can see a bit of like foot flow. Is that the word?
Yeah.
What's
Foot flow?
No.
Footfall.
Footfall. That's the one. You can see a bit of football behind it. It gives it a bit of energy.
Yeah, you can. Anyway, let's keep reading this TechCrunch article because I want to know if we get bashed or not. It's now moving into a big studio in King's Cross where all the hot London AI startups are situated, expanding the team right now of just 8, launching a newsletter, and is starting today, moving into a 5-day-a-week live show schedule, which will soon see Knight and Chambers interview the likes of George Robson, who we have on today, partner at Sequoia, and someone we haven't actually announced yet, but Rishi Sunak is coming on the show tomorrow, former UK Prime Minister and Senior Advisor at Anthropic and Microsoft. How did that get itself in there? Speaking to TechCrunch, Knight and Chambers. You said it. Nice. Speaking to TechCrunch, Knight and Chambers said ETN has already become a hot stop on the press tour for European startups. They've spoken to founder of Synthesia, who again is coming on today, the CFO of Legora, the founder and CEO, CTO, CFO, CEO. Another one. There was another
CRO.
one. CFO.
Yeah, that's David. The CFO, CRO, CEO, and CTO.
Well, lots of O's.
The whole gang.
C's.
Well, that's when we collected the Legora Infinity Stones.
We did.
And we did a post. I think we said that we'd given them an award for that.
Yeah, they can have.
It's still on the way.
Yeah.
The award.
We've been busy building a studio. Anyway, the founder of Granola and Kanishka Narayan, the UK's first AI minister. Congrats to him, actually, by the way, on his recent move. They've even had an American investor stop. Nice. They've even had American investors stop by the show when they are in town, including one from Andreessen Horowitz. Shout out to the A16Z team. They are wonderful. We want to help continue that amazing relationship.
That trip to Monaco was amazing, by the way.
It was incredible.
Nico Rosberg.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
One of our best clips. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good trip out.
ETN was born out of a gaping hole in the industry, Chambers told TechCrunch. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
It centered around pace. He said the current media ecosystem in the UK cannot keep up with how fast the tech scene is moving. For example, so far this year, London startups have raised $14.7 billion. According to Dealroom, 6 companies have raised more than $500 million. Wave, Superintelligence, 11 Labs, Recursive, Ineffable Intelligence, and Isomorphic Labs, the latter of the 3 of which were founded by DeepMind alumni. Just a quick shout out to one of our new sponsors, 11 Labs.
We love to see them. 11 Labs, AI that communicates at human level across every channel and modality. Deploy conversational agents across every customer interaction and create on-brand content at scale in 70+ languages. Go to 11labs/ETN. You love to see that.
I don't know how to get it off, but How do I get it? Do I press cut? Oh, there we go. We're back.
Getting used to the new flow.
These are things that have never happened in Europe before, Chambers continued, referring to the speed which capital was flowing through the ecosystem. As the show became more popular, Chambers said they were getting around 70 pitches a week from guests looking to come on the show. They would try and cram 12 interviews into 2 hours. God, we're like a broken record. We've already talked about this. Twice a week, but eventually it got too much. We needed an outlet that could move at the pace of that, he said, of both the interest in the show and how fast Europe tech scene's ecosystem is moving, which is the reason we're going from 2 days a week to 5 days a week. The 5-day format will look quite similar to the 2-day format. There will be a live show from 12 p.m. UK time to 3 p.m. breaking down trending stories, and then for 2 hours, they will have guests on the show talking about whatever they want. Chambers said they also want to start hosting debates, roundtables, and a Shark Tank-style pitching session on the show. Now, if you look at the this beautiful roundtable, we can do whatever we like here. We have a compliance cage of amazing opportunity. So we can do whatever we like. If you have any ideas, feel free to ping us, because anything that we want to do, we can make happen, and we are live every single day to comment on it.
And this first week, you'll start to see some in-person interviews. We'll be hosting them here in the show, here live, for everyone to have a look. It's something that we've been wanting to do for quite a while, and a lot of people have asked us about in the past. We were previously slightly constrained by the size that we were in. But yeah, another reason why we decided to go for this larger space is we want to start hosting things in person. One of our favorite parts of running this was when we were on the road, like when we were going to, when we look back now of where we've been. Slush was the first one we did in Helsinki in November last year.
Yeah.
Then we did Lake Como, or we did the Juventus Stadium with.
No, we did Lake Como, then Juventus.
We've done Panathenia in Athens.
Yep.
We've done
Raise in Paris.
We have a few more.
We did the Salesforce Summit in London.
Cool full circle moment for me. That was when Arthur Mensch followed us on the show.
It was. So if you've watched the launch video, you'll see that clip.
Shout out to Mistral.
Shout out to Mistral. Anyway, we want to make it as useful as we can for the ecosystem, Chambers said. There needs to be more discourse around AI in Europe. There needs to be more discourse around venture capital and cash flowing into the system. There needs to be more discourse around the amazing things that are happening in the tech ecosystem. And our role is to be the stage in which people can shout about all the amazing things they're doing. The show makes its money from ad dollars. Like most media publications and big name sponsors already include Prediction Market, Polymarket, go to polymarket.com, blockchain company Base, go to base.org, and the AI audio darling 11 Labs, go to 11labs.io. When asked about the influence TBPN has had on them, Knight and Chambers said they indeed do look at John and Geordie, founders of TBPN, which recently sold to OpenAI, for what some say was a 9-figure sum, as pioneers of this new tech media ecosystem.
And that's a super important part
it is.
To just focus on for a moment.
It's gone.
When we look at new media and how it was kind of born, I think most people in the ecosystem would agree that they pioneered this new format. And you can argue whether it's like a revised
undoubtedly,
format, just brought back, like some sort of full circle thing. It's a reimagined way to commentate on technology and bringing like the socially native integration into it. But whether they tried to or not, they ended up creating a news channel. Like whether they planned to, when they switched from doing pre-recorded like once a week with Technology Brothers to the 5 days live a week show, TBPN, inviting guests on live, it basically created a news channel. They had the ears and eyes of everyone in Silicon Valley. And the reason, I don't think we've discussed this live actually before, but like the reason for ETN was because like we saw how much that was doing for the ecosystem in SF, and that now globally. And Europe's ecosystem at the same time wasn't really meeting the requirements at the time for the pace at which the ecosystem was moving. Like paradoxically, we were seeing some like better known publications close down around Europe, but weirdly, like funding rounds were getting larger, ARR metrics were being hit earlier, the ARR metrics were bigger than previously. Like everything took like an order of magnitude step forward. And I think like maybe it just shows the fact that we were live 2 days a week and we were getting 60, 70 pictures of people trying to come on. Like there is a genuine hunger in Europe for this type of stuff, for people to tell stories, for people to share what they're doing, whether it's, as I said, like executive moves, product announcements, whatever it is. People really like want something like this in the ecosystem. So when we look at the relationship that we have with traditional media, I think that there are a lot of takes that potentially suggest that maybe new media is it's competitive slightly. I don't think we would agree. I think that maybe it has to be symbiotic at first, definitely, because we report on the studio, on the articles that they put out. We report on those stories.
Sure.
We see ourselves as essentially an extra layer on top, a live and direct version complementing traditional media to give you maybe an authentic take from the horse's mouth. And for those who aren't, is that a UK saying, from the horse's mouth?
I think it's a global saying, right?
Yeah,
I assume.
I don't know, it seems...
Hopefully people know what that means.
Global, you think? Global. Okay.
Global.
I'm going to assume people know what that means. But like it's a word of appreciation to the pioneers of new media. What they've built is incredible. It's nice to know that they've been supportive of what we're doing as well.
Again, this is
been running it.
This is behind your thing. This is from your thinking. It says, my thinking was, if we can have an ITV and a BBC, why wouldn't we have a regional version of this? TBPN. Chambers continued. Europe is a big place, though, with more than 40 different countries and over 200 languages spoken, 24 of which are recognised by the European Union. Chambers said that although ETN will report from London, he and Knight are making an effort to bring on guests from across the continent. Aside from bringing guests into the studio, they also travel to the hottest tech conferences around Europe. For example, they broadcast from Panathenia conference in Athens and from inside the Louvre in Paris for the Raise AI Summit. You have all...
that was crazy, by the way. The one in France was...
best trip.
Very, very high.
Great. You have all these different cultures, these different minds coming together and creating different products, Chambers said. You get a taste of what makes Europe as a superpower. With all this, they said they would never turn an American founder away should they want to come on the show. It's a European technology network, but we think there's a massive global opportunity, Chambers said. Knight added to that, noting how often conversations pit the European tech ecosystem against that of the US. We are globally optimistic, Knight said. We are pushing global prosperity from Europe. Wherever you want to go and build your company, wherever is the best place to go and build that company, go and do that. We will shout for you to go and do that. He and Ronan and Chambers also don't necessarily see themselves as journalists. Rather, they consider themselves as tech insiders, curious about what's going on and why. They also don't see themselves as replacing traditional media and instead intend to work in tandem with those publications. We rely on traditional media, Chambers said, adding that is how they find much of the news that they talk about on ETN. Overall, the duo hopes to help document the stories coming from the new wave of European success, from 11 Labs in London, shout out to 11 Labs, to Lovable in Stockholm, to help the upcoming generation understand that technology is one way to drive a nation forward. Finally, discussing the impact of European success stories, Chambers says, it riles up the next generation to the point where it's no longer cool to finish university and go to banking or consulting. People want to leave university and go straight into building a startup, and I think that is an amazing thing.
It is. Speaking of amazing things, let me tell you about BVNK, one of our newest partners, BVNK.com, accelerating the global money movement. BVNK provides enterprise-grade stablecoin infrastructure for global businesses, enabling fast, compliant payments and digital asset solutions worldwide. We're going to be chatting to the CMO of BVNK, actually. It will be our first ever in-studio guest.
Very excited.
Which I'm incredibly excited to do.
It's going to be very good.
We'll be digging into all of that.
Also, just a thing, the Telegraph have written an article about us. European chat show for tech optimists wins backing from Axel Springer, Telegraph owner among those investing £1.3 million in European Technology Network's daily programme. An online tech industry show building a network for optimists has won backing from Axel Springer and a US media investor.
Can we pull the Can I just share my screen for this photo that they've used
The change of the photos is
this is
actually quite cool.
Yeah, let's get up like a nice playbook.
Why is there a tree in the middle of our... When did we put a tree there?
Let's pull this on. When was this? This was for our...
Can we put it a little bit?
I can move a little bit. I mean, people can see that. That's fine. This was when
Go to that in the TechCrunch article. Go to the TechCrunch,
What, the difference between the two? Oh, you can't
Can
see
we?
us there.
Oh, we can't move it around.
We'll have to do it another time. But this is hilarious to use that photo. Thank you, the Telegraph, for doing that. Shout out to James.
Did we send them
James
that?
Titcombe.
Did we send them our new photo?
yeah. I quite like that.
Maybe they think they use the old one. Maybe we look better.
So when was that? We can just have a look at what we can see here. We've got our bobblehead figurines that we still have.
We have them just behind you, actually. If you move your head, you can see the silhouette of them just about.
Also, let's just show our cameras. Do they move with us?
Yeah, they do.
Guys, so exciting. Now you can follow our lovely faces around the whole studio. We've got some amazing stuff in here. So a bit of old school lore about this here. This was sent in by a guy that built his own consultancy startup in India who was asking to get this on the show. We obviously love that. James Wise, partner at Boulderton, now leading the Sov AI Fund. His book Startup Century is just here. A Dawn Capital chestboard, you can see there. An Air Wallets bucket hat over here. A framed photo of John and Geordie shaking hands. A Cherry Ventures coaster, Cherry Ventures bottle over there. So a number of different fun old trinkets that we've got from guests that are sending stuff into the show. But we can take that down now, and we can maybe have a read of this article that we've just seen. I actually don't have a Telegraph account.
Okay, nice. I'll read it. ETN broadcasts a daily show from London in which two founders, Ronan Chambers and Luke Knight, interview technology executives and discuss developments in the industry. Outlets focusing on Europe's tech startups have previously struggled to stay viable, with news sites TechCrunch and Sifted among those that have made cuts in recent years. However, ETN is hoping to capitalize on a resurgent interest in the UK and European tech scenes. AI funding in Europe has hit record levels in recent months, led by a cluster of startups based around London's King's Cross, which is actually only 10 minutes down the road from us. The global AI boom has birthed a range of new media outlets covering the industry. In April, OpenAI reportedly paid more than $100 million to buy San Francisco-based technology business programming network. Love how they use the full name there. A daily news show.
Hey, wait, this is
that quickly gained traction on social networks such as
the name
X.
Aura stuff.
Technology
that?
Business Programming Network.
Yeah.
No one calls them that. Anyway, the show's trademark format has since been aped by ETN, features an interviewee flanked by its two hosts, with a scrolling newsfeed reminiscent of broadcast news channels, flanked by its two hosts.
Love it. They're really going.
Who wrote this? James Titcombe.
Let's get him on the show.
What a
You followed
beast.
me on X recently.
Okay, well we'll have to get him on.
Yeah, I followed you back. James.
Short clips of the interviews are typically reposted by the news channel, which makes money through an in-show sponsorship. ETN advertisers include prediction market provider Polymarket and fintech company Airwallex. Powerhouse Capital, which is leading the investment round, has previously backed sports news site The Athletic, incredible deal, which was later sold to the New York Times, and podcast studio Wondery. Other investors include Axel Springer, which completed a £575 million takeover of The Telegraph last month, and Arian Kalantari, the founder of Lad Bible. Shout out to Arian. Mr. Knight said, ETN is building the social permission to be ambitious. It's the network for the optimists. It will shape Europe's tech narrative on the global stage. And we will be speaking to Salim, but he also said, what stands out about ETN is how it is tapping into the growing creator economy and servicing an unmet need to provide live news, in-depth reporting, and storytelling for the European tech community. Great article. Thank you so much, James. We appreciate it. Happy days. I'm pumped to be back.
Can you check out our launch video, please?
Yeah.
We should probably play that for people that haven't seen it. Wait, can I just play that right now? Are we able to share our launch video?
Here we go.
Let's get that up there.
Let's go full screen.
Is this playing through the thing?
Full screen.
Oh.
Wow, that was good. There you go, there's the clip.
Bruce Stevenson, Index.
I was so bearish on the stars, but now they look so good.
Great. Kanishka, the boy.
What a time to be alive.
We love it.
We're going deep and we're going hard.
Absolutely, we are. We love to see it. That is our lovely launch video. How's that going, by the way, on X? I haven't checked.
Hopefully well. Anyway,
we at?
before we move on to the news, Airwallex. Leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com. Let's move on to the actual news of the day.
Oh yeah.
Not that
Sorry,
ours
I
isn't.
forgot about all
Not that
that.
ours isn't news.
Before we get to the news, though, let me tell you guys about our friends over there.
Don't say Airwallex.
at Hex. Hex, the AI analytics platform where trust meets insight. Hex helps teams of all sizes by giving teammates the ability to get insights from their data via natural language code or familiar BI interfaces wherever they work. Go to Hex to check that out.
Beasts.
Yeah, I forgot that there is also other news that we should probably get into.
We should. Let's start talking about the tech leaders pushing back on the open weight restrictions. This is the big story that's been going on over the weekend. An FT article got released just before the weekend, actually, about China's new model, Kimi. I think we should probably just start reading this article and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, this has been, it took over the timeline kind of with Jensen's return
Seriously
to
took
X.
over, yeah.
I've never seen, so, you can always tell whether a banger is going to be a banger on X by like, how many impressions does it have in the first hour? And I think the last one I saw that blew me away was Jack Dorsey when he announced the layoffs with Block that kind of started the... what do people call it? Like AI washing.
Well, he basically just said it was a very candid letter, basically just saying, "Hey, look, like I think it's actually better for my company if I get rid of all of these employees."
Yeah. And we're seeing that now. There's another article in the essay about that.
But I think all of the other kind of shifts that have happened in terms of like laying off and all this kind of stuff hasn't necessarily been like. No one said it's like directly because of AI, whereas. That announcement was one of the first and also one of the most like, black and white, hey, AI has basically taken so many jobs that I'm just going to, get rid of.
We're incredibly AI powered at this company. We're setting up SWAT teams to make things more efficient. Yeah. This is just a natural scale back. But the most interesting part of the whole thing was that for publicly traded companies, the market would react incredibly positively about it. The stock would actually... it could climb between 5 and 10% in a single day off the announcement. Yeah. But yeah, like it just reminded me of that a little bit.
Well, I think that kind of has. It's obviously because when you lay off a bunch of people, AI, more profits go straight into building AI. I mean, so many of the public markets, so much of public markets is now like fueled by a lot of kind of scaredness, a bit of apprehension about how much these companies are kind of shelling into capex and building AI infrastructure.
But a bit of a
so a bit of layoffs.
The only reason I remember, the only reason I was referring to that is like the speed at which that post was getting impressions. Because I remember we saw it and it was like really low. And then like
just popped,
within an hour, it was like multi-million. Jensen's sort of played a similar tune. He is now on 61 million impressions from a post that he put out 3 days ago. It was his opening post to X. And we saw support from basically every software tech CEO that one would want to get support from. Yeah. But Jensen wrote in a first post for my first post.
Other than
I'm
the
sharing
very
a letter.
famous one, but we'll get to that.
What, Anthropic? Yeah. Which is that? Well, let's dig into that. But I saw even Zuck. Zuck came back, and Zuck's making a little bit of an X comeback recently. He's kind of teasing. He's dropping a few...
he just made a comeback.
With
Zuck? Yeah. Just made a big comeback post about a week ago.
A week ago. Yeah.
And I think this is his like second post after that as well.
Yeah.
It's, big
Which
move.
is good. Good to see that. Jensen says, for my first post, I'm sharing a letter NVIDIA signed on why open models matter. AI will transform every industry, power every company, and be built by every country. Open models strengthen safety and cybersecurity accelerate innovation and diffusion, and enable sovereignty. The world needs both frontier closed models and frontier open models. This got a lot, well, it got people talking. As I say, we saw support from Zuckerberg. We've seen SpaceX sign a few hours ago. We've seen Demis come out and Sundar put their own post specifically about Google and how they're happy to sign. Denny's Diner has signed. A lot of people were a little bit confused by that, but I remember everyone was basically saying,
Is that in? That's not in the, in the group of.
I don't know if it was meant. I think someone had edited it in, and there was a great post that we can pull up actually when we get to it. But let's just focus on the article that the FT dropped recently. But the title is NVIDIA and Palantir urge US not to ban open AI models after China scare. Leading tech groups, including NVIDIA, Palantir, Microsoft, and Meta, have urged the US not to restrict open-weight AI models as Washington threatens to target Chinese labs over fears of intellectual property theft. Open models, which users can customize and run on their own hardware, are popular among Chinese AI developers who have recently announced technical advances against US rivals whose top-tier models are closed. This is coming in a time of, I feel like the tech sovereignty debate in Europe was huge fueling for this open source conversation, this open source Discord. We saw.
Well, I mean, Arthur. I don't know if this was recent. I assume it was, and I can't remember what publication did the interview. So really not very useful. But Arthur Mensch actually was talking about how the AI wars and this race. He was like, look, no one's going to win the race. Like that, it's not something to win. Think about AI more as like electricity, right? Each partner is going to get their electricity from someone, from a bunch of different, companies and countries and areas and everything else, because the market is just too big. It is too big for just one company to own. So think about it as more of this like huge market, and there are open weight, and the reason for open weight models is so that you can tap into a more expensive model when you need it. But you keep costs low by using the cheapest model for, or the right model for the task that you've prompted AI for. So that's the way that he's kind of like thinking about this whole race, which he's not saying it is a race. It's more of this kind of ecosystem, and think about AI more as a kind of, electricity, how that's kind of like not owned by one singular player. It is like worldwide in terms of different partners doing different things.
And it's growing in popularity, and it's something that I want to ask Victor at Synthesia about when we have him on in like an hour. But we've gone from token maxing to why are we using Fable for meeting note generation. So we're starting to sort of drift into that. I think there was an article in the FT or WSJ recently that called it like thrift maxing, where people are sort of aware, like, hey, why are we burning so much money on this incredibly powerful model that's doing like an incredibly basic task? So we're starting to see a move away from the token maxing leaderboards that were popular at some companies, and a shift towards, I guess, a more sensible use of AI in general. It seems just a more like cost-conscious means of using the technology.
Yeah.
But this is kind of, I'm referring to this in just general enterprise behaviors in terms of like how a team's operating internally, not talking about like maybe game theory and geopolitical state that is kind of getting pulled out of this this article that Jensen put out and has stirred concerns basically around like, hey, why is Anthropic not getting involved? Where's Anthropic at? OpenAI have come out and signed this, and Sam Altman's been he shared some words publicly about them joining in. So you have to wonder, like, it's an incredibly interesting game that they're all playing in a weird way, right? Because there's obviously a lot of strategic work going down to like, should we opt in? What are the benefits of us opting in? Should we be seen to be opting in?
Yeah.
What are the benefits of being seen to opt in? It's just like really
I think
cool example of game theory.
Think how much Dario has been flamed for not signing in.
And I feel that the Anthropic narrative it's really
well. We were super kind of like maxi Anthropic because of how
well they'd played,
how well they've been playing,
comms and marketing in general. Really.
And again, I read an FT article on the weekend that was talking about this kind of scaremongering type thing, and saying what Anthropic are doing. You just don't know whether it's a marketing thing or if it's not. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And then you don't know if these other frontier labs are kind of doing the same thing, that are, employing those kind of marketing tactics, kind of scaremongering this stuff, and so that's all part of the conversation as well. So it's kind of it's really muddying the water on like what is the play for all of these people. No one knows.
Could we pull up this X post that I have here from Tyler Hogan and also Scott Westman? Basically, Tyler opens it. OpenAI has signed now. What a fascinating day of game theory. And that did good numbers. It did about 1.9 million views on the timeline. We can see this is a slightly outdated now array of all the signatures of people that have joined into this. And Scott has a good take. Big fan of open models, but I have to say that the company that came away from yesterday's Love Fest with the most aura was Anthropic. And this is 51,000 views. Seems to be a slightly different take from the general discourse of what everyone's saying online. And it basically speaks to kind of what Tyler Hogan is hinting at, that this is now a theory of an example of like game theory. Like what is the smart play here? Do we opt in? Do we say yes? Is it good for us to be seen opting in? Does this have a negative effect on us comms-wise? Which is becoming incredibly more important for these labs as they scale, and they... Sam Hogg has a great way of referring to them. He refers to them as mini sovereign states. Yeah. In terms of like the revenues that they're doing, in terms of the influence they have. Right? Well, they have influence. They have the money. They have like the geopolitical power, right? Sure. There's a reason why all of them are sat at the G7 meeting with Trump, Victor included, actually. Good take from Scott Westman. It does seem to be like these ones are the only ones. And there was another one that was basically saying, I actually respect the fact that Dario is the only one that hasn't really been publicly trying to align himself with Trump in terms of I'm just going to kiss the ring and like hopefully that'll just sort my stuff out
and just kneel.
He's the only one and he's the only one that's kind of been taking this like stance, obviously from the Department of War stuff that happened in terms of like model restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Just a cool take from Scott Westman. A little bit against the grain from what we've been seeing on the timeline, but nice to see.
Well, very much so.
Yeah.
Someone who also did something against the grain. Someone made a ping pong, or not ping pong, like breaker game.
See if I can get that up there.
Can we?
I think you can play it. Were you playing it?
Yeah, I played it. It's actually pretty good.
So this is.
But I'm not surprised if he just one-shotted this. Can we live play this game?
I don't know if he's put a link.
He's put a link in the comments.
Oh, he has.
If you just go to the, there you go.
Can I play this now?
Yeah.
Can we go full screen?
Can we zoom out?
Do I need a mouse
just
for this?
Remove me. Yeah, nice. See ya.
Okay.
Go.
This is amazing.
Oh, your app bars.
It's kind of tough. Yeah. I just took Cloudflare down. I'm coming for A16Z.
Yeah, you're a sniper. Let's go. You have to get behind. You're gonna have to get
sorry,
behind.
Co here. I love you guys. Let's get. Oh no, not Mistral. Not the darling
golden child.
This is incredibly hard without a mouse.
Okay, let's move on.
That's great though. That's really good. Shout out to who was that? Ben Burtonshaw for cooking that up very quickly. You love to see that. How many did that do? 523,000. That's great work from Ben Burtonshaw. Let's move on. We have our first guest coming on in, I think, about 3 minutes. So maybe let's just try and get a little bit more news in before we do that. Big topic in the UK, the new PM. What does it mean for AI and tech? Everyone wants to know. We've been watching Roland Manthorpe essentially lead the charge at Sky News on covering this. He's done and has done in the past and continues to do incredible work, not only on behalf of Sky News, but also on behalf of the whole ecosystem in terms of pushing great dialogue around AI, great transparency. I saw a post of his a few weeks ago where he was basically live on Sky News. It's the first time I've ever seen this, by the way. I grew up watching Sky News, my family. Sky News was the one.
This was an incredible clip of what are you saying, what he, he's explaining.
And I reposted it, and I was like, look at this. Like, this is a national broadcast channel. Yeah. This he's pulling deal room statistics up. He's quoting Sov AI. He's getting metrics on like the VC dollars that are flooding into the ecosystem and the delta between the previous year and where we're at today.
Yeah.
And he's going really.
We're going deep and we're going hard.
into like everything about the AI ecosystem. Sorry, that's my favorite new soundbite that we have. So I'm going to be using it frequently, just so everyone's aware of that.
Nice.
But it's really good to see. It's really good to see this kind of conversations being pushed. And Roland's been leading the charge on essentially, reporting from on the AI trajectory for not just the UK, but also what does it mean for Europe as a whole.
Well, after Dominic's come on, we can obviously read that article, but then he also had a bit of a he wrote a post off the back of the article. I think it was on Sunday, and he was like, "Hey, I've just read this article. Don't really get this point. I don't think we have enough time to kind of pull it up now. So we'll wait for that after Dominic interview or after our bunch of interview. We've got, I think, a window at some point.
Yeah.
After the show. But anyway, we should. Is Dominic in the waiting room?
Dominic will be coming in a sec. For context, Dominic is the individual who's just written the piece in TechCrunch on us. Oh, that photo, I don't...
Before we do anything, MetaView AI agents for winning teams, the agentic recruiting platform built for radically efficient hiring, end-to-end, source, engage, and hire better with AI agents that truly get your brief. Let's bring Dominic into the studio. We have...
been a thing before
Here we go.
Dominic, how are we?
Oh, hi.
So good to have you on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. We were just saying that we were telling the audience that you're the one who covered the amazing story in TechCrunch on our behalf, and we really appreciate that. But I was wondering, I'm not sure we've ever done this before when we've had an individual who has written a piece and then come on. I mean, we had a few on our initial launch, but we never had the luxury of having them on. So welcome to the show. It's so good to properly meet you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be the first.
No, so fun. For the viewers at home and the listeners, do you want to introduce yourself, what your role is, and what you cover over at TechCrunch, and then we can get into a few questions that we have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at TechCrunch. I cover venture capital and startups. I'm based in New York, but I come out to London a lot. And yeah, that's pretty much me right now, covering a lot of AI. I think everything is AI right now. But yeah.
Amazing. And let's start with, I guess, the media ecosystem as a whole. Having sat down with us and had a conversation with us, you work at what we would say a more traditional media ecosystem, a more traditional media conglomerate. A lot of the things that we've been discussing on the show is the fact that relationship between new media and traditional media will be symbiotic. It has to be. Have you seen any trends, or is there anything interesting to you in terms of like the way that this space is moving? Anything that's new?
Yeah, I mean, journalism is an interesting thing right now because even as working for a traditional media outlet, we have to utilize kind of these new media channels. We're like, there's the rise of the creator journalists in a way. A lot of journalists have their own newsletters, their own Substacks. And so you definitely see more of a blending of the two. And I think I wrote a piece about this for Nieman Labs last year, where it's kind of inevitable that these two ecosystems will mix and become one, especially because a lot of traditional media outlets now look for kind of those creator journalists that have their own platforms on the side. And that's been happening for a few years now, but I definitely think that if it's not already completely one, then it will be like imminently.
Yeah. What do you see as, for your role personally, how do you see your role kind of evolving then at TechCrunch? Like, are you thinking about building more in kind of public, building your persona? How do you think about it?
I definitely have decided to lean a lot into the creator journalism space this year. I was a really big holdout for a long time. I was like, I don't want to be the journalist that makes TikToks and stuff. But this year, me and Claude, I'm like, how do I use Instagram? And so just mapping out a social media strategy, which is like turning a lot of my articles into Instagram reels, a lot of videos that people can share, kind of mixing tech news with, that content that Instagram people like, that lifestyle-y stuff. I've definitely been thinking about it a lot because that's where a lot of people read and consume my work. They don't necessarily go to the TechCrunch site. They just go to my Instagram.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's talk about your work. You've done some work previously, spending some time in a London hacker house. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
So how did you? Yeah, how did this come about?
It's actually really funny. I got like this DM from this account with like an AI avatar, and they were like, we have this hacker house, come out. And I was like, is this real? And I was talking to all my friends in London. I was like, have you heard of, I forgot where the stop, it was like deep into East London. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going. And some of my friends, they were like, I've never heard of that stop. And so everyone was like, text me when you get there. But I went there, and it's really a really nice new development. I guess they're doing stuff on the islands, little marshes out near Canary Wharf. I went, and it was really interesting. I'd never been inside of a hacker house before. And so this was kind of my first experience. But I mean, I'd heard a lot about them, especially because they're so infamous here in the US. And yeah, I mean, it's just kids, or not kids, but like people building companies. This house was focused a lot on work-life balance. So to get in, you had to have like an interest in fitness and have a hobby outside of building a company.
Oh, really? No way.
Yeah, that was the big thing. So I thought it was an interesting dynamic. I thought it was an interesting dynamic between, this hustle culture, but then also kind of wanting more balance in life.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to marry. I mean, there was loads of discourse, especially here in Europe after like Stebbings' 996 stuff. That opened up like a huge conversation around like, do you need to 996? Is that something that's like?
Well, it's like it's like, do you need to work really, really hard? Some people do, some people don't. It's how much you actually want to get done. All this kind of stuff.
Is working smart, working hard?
So was that the kind of consensus from the hacker house? Like, you need to be able to have some time out of work to be able to do your best work. Was that the kind of overall consensus?
The idea was basically like, you don't have to, do all of this intense work schedule, and that it's actually better if you do get sleep and eat well, because then it helps you build better companies when your mind is in a good headspace.
That's
so I kind of
see. It's kind of flipped itself on its head, hasn't it?
And I actually agree. Like when I used to wear a Whoop for like a year, I think I wore a Whoop, but I never really had this experience myself. But me and my buddies had like a Whoop group, and we track like strain and recovery and all this sort of stuff, and sleep as well. And I remember one time my mate had like a really he'd been out for a few drinks, like nothing crazy, maybe like 3 or 4 pints. And he woke up the next day and he was quite excited. He was telling me this story. He said, I woke up and I was really keen to get into work, and I was quite excited about going and doing my best work and all stuff. And then he looked at his metrics and it was like low recovery, bad sleep. He's like, oh, well, actually, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to work from home. This means like laptop open for 2 hours.
Very Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah. Had 2 glasses of wine and ruined his life. That's but I think that's like an interesting dynamic, right? Because like you better like to not stats max and like biohack and all this sort of stuff, and just sort of go with the flow in terms of what you know best and how you feel.
Yeah, that was. I mean, and that's why it was so interesting to me, because I was like, is this possible? Can you build a big successful company without without work-life balance? And I don't know. I guess you can. I mean, it sounds crazy to even debate this, because it's like we should all have some form of work-life balance. But then again, I don't know. It's so weird. But that's why I found the house to be really interesting, and they're all doing really well. And one of the guys in the house just sold his company for like millions and stuff. They're doing really well.
Cool.
But I just thought it was an interesting debate.
Yeah, really interesting.
Amazing.
There's another piece that you did, some more of your work around building in public, which is connected, I guess, to everything that we're discussing now. I saw it earlier. It's connected to work-life balance. It's connected to owning your own brand, I guess, is becoming a lot more popular. We've seen the success that this can create with like founder-led sales or like founder-led content from Anton at Lovable here in Europe. Like a lot of what they did was centered around him initially. What was the reason for doing this article? Any sort of key learnings or key takeaways that you found from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to remember. I think I wanted to do the article because I was just curious to see if things were different for young founders these days. I had an investor who told me that 19 was like the magic age for investors, because they just wanted to invest in like really young people. And so I tried to see if that was true, and I found that wasn't necessarily true. And so I had to like evolve the thesis of the story to just like, what is it like being a young founder today? And what was interesting, because I thought that it was going to be more people saying like building in public, having like a founder first focused brand. But I actually spoke to some young people who were like, we just kind of want to mind our business and build companies and then appear when we have to appear, and not necessarily turn into this whole like what you see online, like the founder first narrative. Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting, because I was not expecting that. I expected more people to want to lean into building in public. But I mean, of course, there's a lot of people who do want to build in public, but I think that there's a lot of people who also don't as well. And we just don't hear about them because they're not building in public. And so that was an interesting find. And social media, definitely. And Mark Zuckerberg was someone I brought up to a lot of the young people, because I definitely wanted to see like if things had changed since he first came onto the scene. And everyone specifically noted that social media has made, I think psychologically just made things a lot harder for people to build. And you're constantly worried about being attacked on social media, online. I think one founder said that there's like this negative ecosystem that he said that there's like a bunch of Twitter accounts dedicated to just tearing down young people. I got off of Twitter like last year, so I don't really know, but I don't think I put that part in the story. But it was just that is also really interesting of how I guess hostile social media has become for a lot of founders. And I don't know. I thought that was, but it also not unexpected because social media is the way it is.
Yeah. I think there are, well, a conversation around like even calling it social media now is slightly outdated in a sense, where it's becoming more of, you look at like the real
Just a general
format.
distribution platform.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like news. Like most people refer to X now as like a news app, and you know, we probably talk for an hour about what does that mean and who is saying it and why. But even sort of like Facebook as well, news focused. But essentially when the For You page popped up, I'd say that it became less like a social network, more of like a discovery channel.
Well, it's similar to the health conversation where like two sides are kind of, you know, going away, like they're diverging, and one's getting more extreme and the other one's getting more extreme, but in very different areas. Some people really want to be, you know, doing YouTube or Instagram or X, and they find that that's the best place to go and distribute their company. But then also people, want to build kind of behind closed doors and feel like that's the best way to do it. Where do you see that kind of going? Do you feel like it's just going to keep diverging and you'll just have those two groups, or do you think one will kind of bend the knee and be like, hey, I actually do want to be posting on X because it actually is really useful?
I think that they will like mix and mingle, intertwine, separate. Because I mean, like eventually, you know, founders who want to build in private, eventually they always come out in the open for something, right? Like whether it's, you know, to garner more customers, for like to make media appearances, and then maybe a founder who's been in public for so long, they get burned really bad online, and so they disappear for a bit. But that was actually something that I was interested to learn more about, talking to all these young people, even with like the London Hacker House, because I wanted to see how much of, you know, wanting work-life balance or wanting to be a little bit more private came as a reaction to what it's like just being young these days. I mean, I'm 28, but I feel like I was talking to people a lot younger than me, and they would have grown up in this environment where they see, you know, cancel culture. They would have seen, you know, us having to work like just so much for little gains and stuff. And so I was curious to see if, you know, this mentality that they have, if that was a reaction to that. But I don't know if I don't know if we're gonna see that right now. I think that maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll probably see if it's like a cultural thing or if it's just like these individuals, this is how they like doing things.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. I'm just seeing we've got 3 minutes left. I would love to get your take on what is interesting to you right now. What are you focused on at TechCrunch? What do you have planned for the next few months? Is there a particular space that's catching your attention? Is there something that you're quite excited about?
Well, actually, London's been really exciting to me, covering all of the success that's been happening. I have like I have three more London stories that are supposed to come out. And so I don't know, just following the success of the ecosystem has been super exciting. And I know that a lot of people are excited about it. And so just when other people are excited, I'm excited. And I'm really interested to see what companies come out, what founders come out, what technology comes out, and kind of how the London ecosystem changes in the next 5 years. So that is something that I've been focused on. And then here in the US, it's kind of just seeing how all these big tech companies are going to, I don't know, there's so much happening with these big AI labs here. Every day is a new drama. Is Anthropic and OpenAI going to IPO? I don't know. We're going to see. So there's that.
Yeah, we were just saying then, like, there's a running joke on X about how you need to be unemployed to be able to keep up with the news, but also on the other side of that, like, unless your job is to, like us now, being 5 days a week, our job is to be
on X.
chronically online all the time.
No, actually,
it's like the
We
inverse.
positioned ourselves in a very fortuitous, place.
Yeah.
my editor, she actually told me, she was like, you need to get back on X. She was like, that's
do.
like all the news there. And I was like, I know I have to get back on it. So
I
yeah.
think so. I was surprised to hear that you
Will
weren't on
you
it.
get? Will you get back on X?
When you do, when you return, you can
Well,
come back
I have
on,
to-
and we can
I have to
unveil
be on
it.
it now.
You could be the next. Well, we've had
Jensen
Mark
Huang. Yeah,
Zuckerberg,
come
then
on.
Jensen Huang. Now we could have you come back on X.
Dominic can make a big return.
I have to come back. I'm supposed to be back on it technically. I'm gonna today. Today is the day I get back on
No
X.
way.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
Let's go. Well, Jensen Huang's post I think did about 70 million views, so hopefully you can
We will
top
retweet it.
that.
We will retweet it. We will also boost it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Dominic, we're coming to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for the cool piece that we
we
read
read it
on the
out.
show.
It was very good. We appreciate it.
It's
Oh,
been
yeah.
it's been awesome.
Ooh, thanks for having me. And yeah, have a good rest of the day.
Awesome. Cheers, Dominic. Thank you.
Bye.
Nice
Bye.
one.
Awesome stuff. Let me talk to you about 11 Labs, AI that communicates at a human level across every channel and modality, deploy conversational agents across every customer interaction, and create on-brand content at scale in 70 plus languages. Next on the show, we have Matthias.
Matthias Döpfner, CEO
Let's do
of
this.
Axel Springer, will be coming to us live very shortly. We're going to be talking about a few things. How is media changing in the world right now? The Telegraph acquisition that they recently did, 550 million. Technology in Europe, what are those barriers? And also AI journalism. What does the intersection look like? Is there a place for it? We saw a lot of people
Is
getting
Matthias
annoyed.
in the waiting room? Let's bring him on.
See me?
There he is. Hey, how's it
Hello.
going?
Matthias, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome to the European Technology Network. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Very much looking forward.
Excellent stuff. Well, we usually ask guests to introduce themselves for the viewers and the listeners at home, and I'd love it if you could do that as well.
Of course, yeah. Pleasure.
Well, we can get straight into it. Matthias, can we ask the first question? It's a bit of a broad one, but you're probably better poised to answer it better than anyone else. How is media changing in the world right now? We're looking at a landscape that has a bunch of new entrants pop up, leaner teams, smaller individuals, very much like what ETN is doing, covering these sort of events. And we've been saying throughout most of the day that the relationship between traditional media and new media would remain symbiotic for quite a while. Is there anything that you're seeing from your position that you can speak to us about?
Well, I would nevertheless say that probably most of the legacy media have a hard time. So it is basically very, very much about how many new digital native media are going to be launched. And with that, a new diversity of offerings and competition is going to develop. I see at the moment a kind of crisis of trust in traditional journalism. A lot of attention is shifting to creator journalism. And so I think that is a tremendous opportunity for those who are actually embracing progress in new developments to re-establish trust, because that something is true, that people can distinguish what is a rumor, what is a fact, what is independently investigated. And if you make a mistake, that you apologize. I think that's an incredibly attractive promise. So if you are, I think, taking advantage of modern technology and recreating that trust based on curiosity-based journalism that is factually correct, and not predictably in party political camps, then I think journalism has a great future. I'm really optimistic.
Yeah, and you guys recently acquired the Telegraph. Can you talk to us about how a traditional media outlet would, what does it look like for the future of a traditional media outlet, based on your thoughts and views and how you think the industry is moving?
Well, I wouldn't distinguish for us. The only thing that really matters is the quality of content and the journalistic credibility.
Yeah.
And then it is all about digital distribution. The Telegraph has 1.1 million digital subscribers. And we will broaden that basis by internationally expanding the Telegraph. We see a tremendous opportunity in the United States, where a center-right audience is structurally underserved, and to provide quality journalism for this audience in the US and beyond the US. I mean, in the democratic world, I think the Daily Telegraph can really transform into a global telegraph, and that's what we want to do. And here it is all about digital distribution.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Interesting. With regards to Europe, I guess, and technology in Europe, again, you probably see this from a vantage point that others don't, so you're probably more informed. What are the barriers that we're looking at in Europe right now? Sovereignty is a really hot topic at the moment. What are your takes on the current landscape?
Well, I mean, the obvious weak spots in Europe are over-regulation, too much bureaucracy, a lack of speed, and you could also say a lack of risk capital. But I think these are all consequences of a mentality challenge. And I think the real shift that we have to achieve in Europe is that we establish a higher risk appetite and a more developed risk culture. In Europe, people, if they fail, they hardly get a second chance. In America and elsewhere, you are perceived to be even stronger to take the next chance. And so I think this risk appetite, this risk culture has to be developed. But talking about Europe and discussing the kind of disadvantages, I think at the moment I see an incredible opportunity. And that is, if we look how artificial intelligence is perceived in the United States, it's getting more and more negative every day. Most likely the next election campaign will be about which party is protecting their people better against AI. Every data center is a big issue, a lot of protests. In Europe, that is different at the moment. Europe is more AI kind of embracing than the United States. And we see that in our company very concretely if we talk to our European colleagues and to our American colleagues. And I think that is actually a chance. If we in Europe are now basically inviting American and global companies, and of course also European companies, to do things here, perhaps even easier, that could even end up in an anti-stereotype. Suddenly Europe is faster, suddenly Europe is more technology embracing than the US if it is about AI. So I think that's an opportunity that we definitely should take advantage of.
And how, I mean, two questions in one. How important is it to kind of control that narrative and really push that narrative of kind of Europeans being very AI pilled and wanting to adopt and develop AI? How important is that to kind of push that narrative? And what are the kind of steps to be able to do that and create kind of real long-lasting impacts on the continent to be able to be a competitive, powerhouse within kind of the AI world?
Well, honestly, I think in the long run, no narrative can do it, only facts and deeds can do it. So we have to deliver. We have to showcase. We have to showcase how here a data center is built faster and easier and with a better outcome. And I think then Europe is, given the quality of its lifestyle, given the talent, given the intellectual property competition that is happening here in a very lively and inspiring way, I think Europe then can become, again, a very fascinating place, a magnet for people who really want to do something. But again, just talking about it is not going to do it. We have to act.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I think like on the tech sovereignty debate, which is it's getting a lot of highlights in Europe at the moment. It has been for a number of months and will continue to, I guess, for a few more months. But what it seems to me that the overall message that I receive when I hear the words tech sovereignty comes from Europe sometimes mean non-US tech and only European tech. And there does seem to be a disparity in terms of like some tools that we use. Is it a case of like, hey, we're not going to use US tech? 'Cause it sounds like what you're saying is we should be inviting US technology over to Europe.
Absolutely, and maybe I have a contrarian view here, but I absolutely don't believe in this idea of European sovereignty if it is about tech. I mean, we are simply too late, and now it is not a question how isolated we can be. That is going to lead in disaster. The only question is, who are our allies, and do we want to become a colony of China, of a non-democratic, in the end, communist version of capitalism? Or do we want to build alliances with imperfect democracies, with the most important and biggest economy in the world, America, where we at least have a basis of shared values? And I can only strongly encourage us. Together we are stronger. Sitting together at the negotiation table with China, we can make a difference. Alone, it is even too big for America. So Europe leads America, that's very clear. But I think also America does much better with Europe. And that is the strategic alliance. And then embrace India, embrace Japan, embrace other democratic economies in the world, and shape artificial intelligence together with them. We have at the moment still the better technology, but we really have to be careful. If China can split us, can widen the gap between Europe and America, that is going to be very dangerous for both on both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah, I agree. And just at the beginning of the interview, you said how big the opportunity is to bring the Telegraph and to build the Telegraph with its US audience. How impactful will that be? You know, when you guys succeed to kind of build that that US audience with the Telegraph, where that's almost a bridge between Europe and the US, right? With narrative and journalism and kind of positive news coming out of both continents, and kind of building that relationship. How does that work? How are you looking at that?
Already today, we are a transatlantic media company. We have assets like Politico, Morning Brew, Business Insider in America and in Europe, Onet in Poland, Welt in Germany, and now the Telegraph in England. So this transatlantic idea is in the spirit of what I've just described, very important to us. And here, the Telegraph launch is an important step. But you know what is even more important? It is even more important that we really are ahead of the wave if it is about AI innovation, and that we are using artificial intelligence faster, earlier, smarter than anybody else. That is the ambition. And here we have a very simple principle, which I think can be a competitive advantage. We say to our employees, you can use whatever AI and how much AI you want, as long as you take the responsibility for the truthfulness of the content. How you do that with human sources only, with AI, we don't care, but you are in charge that it is correct, that the facts are correct, and that it is meeting our journalistic standards. So you carry the responsibility. So I'm basically saying we are delivering a responsibility promise to our audience. And with that, I think it is also going to re-establish trust. And I think that is a tremendous opportunity that I see on both sides of the Atlantic. This is more a global approach in free and open societies where the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech rules. But AI and technology plays an incredibly important role in order to make it successful.
Definitely.
Yeah. With that in mind, like AI and journalism was something that we would love to ask you about. I think maybe at first some scrutiny around it. It seems to be becoming a lot more common nowadays. There was the M-dash trend that went around for a while, and people were making comments around like, okay, if you have an M-dash in your writing, then I'm just going to assume that you've not taken any care writing this. Is there? How do you see that trend playing out? It seems to have come back a little bit more now. People are very okay with this type of stuff. Has it been something that you're monitoring? Like, how are you looking at that?
Honestly, I think any kind of disclosure or in that spirit also discrimination, it has been done with AI or without AI as a quality promise, I think is completely outdated, is not going to work. It is going to be just a normal tool that we have to use. I mean, today nobody would ask you to take off your glasses because glasses are artificial. Glasses just help you to have a better sight. And so this is, I think, just an absurd discussion. It's a new technology. We have to use it as any technology. It has advantages and disadvantages, opportunities and risks. You know, if you are, if you have a knife in your hand, you can with this knife slice food and get nurtured, or you can kill a person. But you would not forbid the knife just because you don't want to have murder. So I think that should be our approach. AI has to be used, and we have to do it and carry the responsibility, but not in a way indicating, oh, be careful, this is AI. I mean, of course, if something is 100% AI, and if a human didn't even touch it, that's a different game. Then one should be transparent with it, because that's not our quality promise. But the general mentality, I think, needs to be, let's use AI to bring human intelligence with artificial intelligence to a new level. And that, I think, is a great opportunity for journalism and for everything. People are always focusing on efficiency. Efficiency is not that important. What really matters is quality. Make just the product better, make it more meaningful, make our work processes more sophisticated. That's where AI is going to help us. So in that spirit, again, let's focus on the opportunities, be realistic about the dangers, but not in the spirit of we guarantee AI free. No. Honestly, we at Axel Springer guarantee smartest AI with the smartest human intelligence, best product for you.
Let's go.
We love to hear it. I think there's a theme in all these conversations where it seems to be the studio is burst into a round of applause. It seems to be that it's like high trust, aware of risks, but let's take some action. Seems to be the recurring theme from sort of every single point that we've discussed here. You mentioned
And we back you on that.
and we completely align with that and the messaging in general. The thing you mentioned at the start, Europe does have a tendency to have a little bit of tall poppy syndrome. We can make this the last question as we close out, but how do we change that in Europe? How do we get people psyched? How do we get people excited? How do we get people to take more risks?
Risk is probably the success factor. Risk is probably the success factor, because if you combine ambition, if you combine knowledge, if you combine smartness with high risks, you will get a much better outcome. The smartest people who are totally risk averse are not going to achieve anything. So we should just prove in the past that the biggest entrepreneurs of our times are the biggest risk takers. And if Europe would think a little bigger, I think the reward would so much more compelling and attractive. So in the end, I mean, it's hard to say it in one sentence, but I would say no risk, no fun. If you take higher risks, you will have a lot more fun and a lot more success. And that should be the European way going forward.
Incredible.
Really cool. Really cool. Matthias, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and hopefully we can do it again in the future as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank
Amazing.
You,
Great to meet you.
Cheers. Thank
See
you
you
very
soon.
much. Awesome. That is CEO of Axel Springer, ladies and gentlemen.
Before we have our
next
next guest on, who is also an investor in this company, 11 Labs, AI that communicates at human level across every channel and modality, deploy conversational agents across every customer interaction, and create on-brand content at scale in 70+ languages. Let's bring on Mr. Casper Lee into the studio. If he is in the waiting room, I believe he is. Here he is.
What's up, guys? How are you
Casper,
doing?
how are you, sir?
I'm so good. I'm so excited. Congratulations on the launch.
Thank you.
That video you put out is so well edited. Who did that? Can I please hire them?
No. We always get asked who our editors are, because people want to hire them, or they say, oh, are they contractors? No, they are ours.
He will be watching right now, and he will get this message, and we will connect you with him. We will connect you.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, fine.
The greatest launch video maker of all time now.
We will share the love. We will share the love.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Dude, this is so fun to have you on. Maybe for the viewers and the listeners at home that don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself, your background, what you've been focusing on recently?
Yeah, we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah, I'm one of those annoying creators who started a few businesses, except I didn't start like a consumer product. I started, I co-founded a business with a guy called Ben Jeffries called Influencer.com, so one of the largest influencer marketing platforms. And then I also have a talent management company with a guy called Joe Sugg and WME, where we manage some of the world's greatest creators and talent. And then I also co-founded a venture fund with Sasha Kaletsky called Creative Ventures, and
Nice.
we kind of started investing together in 2019, and just raised our second fund last year.
Let's go.
Huge. We love it.
Let him cook. Let him cook now.
It's a long.
Let him cook. I said, let him cook.
I feel like
we need to short on that.
yeah, you need
That's
like
our new
French-
soundboard.
Yeah, you need like a French version of that.
We did try and get the Macron for sure, which I think we will try and get on for the next show.
We will get some
Yeah.
Macron soundbites for sure.
Anyway, look, we have a ton to ask. I mean, you are a very, very busy man, so obviously, naturally, a lot of questions. Can we talk firstly about Creative Ventures and what you guys are doing? You guys are getting in some incredible deals. You're an investor in one of our partners, 11 Labs, investor in Beehive. You got into Runner. Talk to us about the kind of managing the balance between the kind of creator world and the investor world, and kind of where you see, that kind of like symbiotic relationship and how you kind of balance all of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to start off, I've got the most incredible partner in the world, Sasha. We invest in AI native consumer companies and the infrastructure supporting them. And we were very lucky to launch our first fund when we did. It was, Q1 2022, just kind of when all of this kind of AI phenomenon kind of really took off.
Yeah.
And so like the last 12 of our 15 investments have been in AI. And I think the reason we have managed to have the success and access we've had comes down to the fact that distribution is incredibly important to these people. And as you know, having an audience, an owned audience, is very valuable. And what we really try and help them do is both partner with people with large audiences, but also build their own audiences. And so it's gone really well. And then of course there's all the other stuff as investors we try and help our founders with. So, but Creator Ventures is our name, not because we invest in creator economy companies. It's because we know how to navigate the creator economy to help our founders.
Yeah, and you, when I was doing some research, you kind of have this this take where, you know, the best businesses that have come out of from a creator or a celebrity is one that has a product that can actually, you know, act on its own. It can be a standalone product and a good one. Can you talk to us about that and how you kind of you work with founders who might not be kind of creators or posting and allow them to kind of interact with that world, but then also on the other side with someone who's a celebrity or a creator and kind of coming into the, you know, founding a business side as well. There's kind of two worlds.
Sure. I mean, you get traction from the get-go if you have an audience, especially if that audience is interested in the product you're creating. That can be great. But that can also mean that you have this traction that is built in because of who you are rather than the product you've developed. And so there's this balance when like a creator starts a company of like, how do they build something where it can go beyond themselves? And you've seen great examples of this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes people think, oh, just because I have an audience, this makes it easy. It's the opposite. I almost feel like, you know, you're given such a spotlight from day one that, you know, when you go out, obviously, I'm not a big fan of perfecting your product before going out, but you do have a little bit of extra pressure. And then on the other hand, you know, on the other side of things, if someone isn't a creator yet, like, and they go out, I think they have a huge opportunity the way the social graphs work today to build that audience. It's never been easier to build, but it's also never been harder to maintain.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's an exciting world to navigate for sure. But I as I say, like, of course we love creators. I'm a creator. Our goal with influencer.com is to pay out $1 billion to creators in the next 8 years.
Wow.
But that doesn't mean we think only creators can launch businesses in the world of social media. I think everyone can, and it's our job to help them.
Yeah. There's a really interesting point you mentioned there, and it was something that I was really excited to ask you, and it's something that we're interested in as well. But like this, you mentioned it's never been easier to build an audience online, and you mentioned the social graphs and stuff. How has that changed from now to like back when you were grinding it out really early days, putting like absolute years into this thing? Because I'm seeing, you know, people set up accounts on whether it's TikTok or Instagram or anything that's like short form orientated. And dude, they're creating like huge brands really, really quickly, and they're monetizing them through brand partnerships like really well. Yeah, like, what do you feel like? How do you think things have changed, and like, what do you think of the current ecosystem and landscape?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to diminish the work I did back then, but you could do a chubby bunny challenge, which is filling your basically cheeks up with marshmallows. And get millions of views because your audience just was subscribed to you. And
Casper, are you saying it was easy back then?
It was hard to get to that point, but once you got to that point, you could kind of get away with just uploading, and people would see your stuff.
Yeah.
Now people don't really see what they're subscribed to. Obviously, that adds to the algorithm, and that does help point people in the right direction. But really, people watch what they're interested in, and so if you can make content based on people's interests, you can jump onto that a lot quicker than, you know, having to have like convince them to subscribe to your channel. I remember I used to like go on other YouTubers' channels, like typing in the comment section saying, "Hello, I'm Casper. I make some of the videos to Joe Slug. Please subscribe to me." It was like that kind of vibe. Whereas now, rather than doing that, literally, if you make videos about someone or something that's very relevant, you can do extremely well. That's why I think with ETN, you guys have such a great strategy, because you're hopefully going to be bringing on people that others are interested. Obviously, you two are extremely interesting yourself, but if you can leverage the news of the day and the people who are coming on, I think, you know, you're going to continue to get those millions of views that I saw in the pitch deck.
Yes, yeah.
I appreciate
about that. No. I think it's a really interesting space, because we're seeing a shift back to like the way that we've heard it discussed is, especially in our space specifically, would be the power has shifted in a way where previously like founders or operators or venture capitalists or anyone that sits in this ecosystem would have to essentially like try as hard as they could to pitch maybe a traditional outlet, and hopefully they cover the story, and they kind of had no power. And our model is kind of flipping it on its head in a way where like the guests are the lifeblood and the oxygen of the outlet in a way where like we exist to serve the people coming onto the show. So, and I'm kind of seeing this like switch across even these smaller accounts where you can run them incredibly lean. You don't need like a massive team. I mean, hell, you could just get your phone and do like 1 million views on your phone.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's very rare that, you know, we raised VC money and we didn't think that we would go and raise VC money. We actually turned it down for quite a few weeks, and then only realized the kind of scale of the opportunity, and then we were like, oh my God, this actually could be huge. Yeah. Let's go and do it.
I love that. Like we turned it down for quite a few weeks. Yeah,
they really.
So proud of you. Well done.
Yeah, they sold us well.
They really twisted our arm, but
it's,
yeah.
No, I think what you're saying is so true, and like I'm a massive fan, obviously, of my wife, not only because she's my wife, and I should say that, but because she's a creator as well. Who, you know, she used to make content more about herself, and then she, again, similar to what you're doing, her content has now become more about film. It's become about television, books, and she's had like Steven Spielberg in her content since she started doing that. So it's just like, everyone's willing to work with you if you can create a platform, and not anyone can create a platform. So I really encourage people to do it. Just not exactly what ETN are doing, because this is the horse I've backed, and hopefully this one can go to
yeah, hopefully this one wins.
We can clip that. We can
100%.
Clip that and push that.
I did want to ask about one of your investments in Beehive and Tyler Denk. He's come on the show before, and I wanted to ask like why you think he is, because I look up to him a lot because I think he's a really great founder who's kind of managed to bridge the kind of creator side. Obviously, he owns this kind of creator kind of centric business, but then also have that kind of business side to him. He straddles both sides very, very nicely. Can you explain like why you think he is like such a good founder? Because I think he's great.
Yeah, I mean, Sasha found kind of Tyler on Twitter pre-launch, so
wow.
it was incredible. I mean, the stuff Tyler was doing at Morning Brew obviously was great, and yeah, we were so excited to be able to be part of that and continue to support them. And seeing Tyler build what he's built is been phenomenal. I think the secret to his success is, you know, he's a very blunt, straight to the point guy. You know, he's building in public in a non-BS way, which is incredible, because you kind of have to have a great business to be able to do that constantly. I guess that's what pushes him so hard. It must be way more terrifying, you know, every single day, because you're constantly making sure you can continue to talk about how great your business is. And he has to be able to do that. But no, I have massive respect for him. And look, you know, I just think it shows what you can do when you truly focus on the customer, and you also focus on, you know, not only providing them with the best tools, but thinking, how can I create something way more valuable for them? And they've done something really well there. And, you know, their recent launches has been incredible. You know, community, shout out to community, excited to see that come to life.
Yeah, they're nailing it, specifically on that, like involving the audience, level, community level, engagement level.
He's incredibly like tapped in as well on X. Like, you know, you'll at him and he'll like it, repost, whatever. But then you'll email him. You know, I said this on the show before just after he came on, or I think just before, I had a problem with Beehive. I emailed him, and he didn't know me at the time. And he replied within a few minutes, and I thought, wow, that's like that's a founder that you'd want to back.
After their Series B as well, I think.
Yeah,
that was.
And I'm just this guy with a very small newsletter. You know, I was not that important. I'm still not that important. But
you're just some guy.
That's awesome.
We're coming towards like the end. I think something that I really wanted to ask you again, and this is kind of a selfish question to be honest, because we want to grow ETN, obviously. If there's like a creator or somebody interested in this realm now, I mean, I think everyone are creators nowadays, with the fact that like you just have to leverage it for your business. But you know, maybe there's a young person out there right now who's watching this and seeing you, and maybe they've been a fan of you for a while. But what is advice that you would give to a younger person, maybe the age that you were when you started creating? how can they scale their brand? How can they scale their personal brand, their business? Like, is there a playbook? Is there a guide? What can we tell the next generation?
Yeah, there's so many different playbooks depending on what you want to do, but I think one thing that's become clear is just move fast and constantly upload. Don't overthink it. I think Instagram has, become a lot more like TikTok recently. The algorithm's incredible. If you make good content on there, it really does get pushed out. TikTok's been doing this great for a long time. YouTube Shorts is coming in as well. So all of these short form arenas, I think, are better than ever if you're just making a lot of content and then it's good. And I would also just say consume a lot of content. That's the best way to learn. And then finally, I still think YouTube long form and live streaming and doing long form what you're doing is great. So it's really combining the really long stuff with the really short stuff. But there's thousands of strategies depending on what you're doing. But the one that like underscores it all is move fast and start today, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And that becomes a soundbite.
What a way.
There we go.
Let's go.
What a way to end the show. We love it. Casper, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Appreciate the time. And we'll see you soon.
Hopefully see you in the studio soon.
100%.
dude.
You got to come by. All right, ciao. That was Casper Lee. He is the co-founder and CVO at Influencer, GP at Creative Ventures. He just does so many things. It's actually nuts.
Super busy, isn't it?
Super busy guy.
Earlier. Insane.
Yeah, indeed. Airwallex, leave identity business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com.
Our next guest
we have 5 minutes.
is our good old friend, Victor.
Good old friend.
One of our first ever guests on ETN. That first episode, who did we have on? Paul Murphy over at Lightspeed.
Manny Medina.
Manny Medina. Oh, Manny was such a legend.
Victor at Synthesia.
Victor at Synthesia and a bunch of others. I feel bad now because I can't remember.
Who did you say at the beginning?
Paul Murphy. Well, he was at Lightspeed. Now he's left Lightspeed doing something else.
Yeah, he's actually, I don't know what he's doing.
He's in stealth.
Yeah, he is.
I think he's founding, I think. He was a founder previously.
No, he is founding, yeah. I just don't know what,
Oh, I had a guess at something he was doing ages ago. And I thought he was going to join 11 Labs. That's what I thought.
Yeah, well, he hasn't
maybe
come.
not.
He hasn't come out with anything. I don't think.
That's just complete hearsay.
We've actually got the next guest now. If you guys want.
Yeah, we could have the next
Hey,
guest
Victor
on.
here. Let's get him in.
Let's get him on. Let's get him on.
Let's get Victor in the shit.
There he is.
What's up, man?
What's up, guys? Looking
It's
good?
Yeah. Slight upgrade since last time, dude. How are you?
I know. I'm good. Looks like you guys doing pretty good as well.
We're trying. Today was the big launch day. Obviously, I had to reach out to Alexandru early to make sure that you were available. And lucky enough, it coincided with a release that you guys have done. But it's great to have you back on. We were just saying you were one of our first guests on the show when we launched.
You're on the first day, so
on the
this
first
is
day.
a nice full circle moment for us.
It was you. It was Paul Murphy at Lightspeed.
Yeah.
It was Manny Medina at Outreach now doing Played, and then we had like a surprise announcement. I think it was like a stealth company. I forget the name now. It was pre-seed stealth,
It was a launch.
based in Stockholm.
Yeah.
I forget the name.
Anyway,
now.
how have you been? How is Synthesia? Give us the heat check, and then we'll go from there. We've got a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm honored to be back. Synthesia is ripping, man. It's been a great year so far. Last week we launched roleplay sessions, which is our first real-time product. So as most of the viewers will probably know, Synthesia kind of 1.0 is all about like helping people make video faster, better with AI. That's a huge business for us. But for me, when I started the company 10 years ago, I was always waiting for the moment that kind of AI would transform video from being a simple broadcast, right? You create one video, everybody watches the same thing, something that's much more interactive and much more alive. And the way we've thought about it internally is always, you look at the world's first websites, right? They were basically like a newspaper on a screen because that's kind of what we could imagine at the time. And then over time, websites became very different than a newspaper. They're personalized just for you, connect people in the comments. It's an interactive experience, right?
Yeah.
And with this product, you can now talk to your video. We're launching a big platform later in the year called Sessions, where you're going to be able to do a whole bunch of different use cases. Last year, we launched the first one, which is around role plays. So a big part of our customer base today use Synthesia for training and enablement.
Yeah.
Think about taking your sales team, preparing them for actually being out there, going up against competitors, understanding the depth of the products that their companies are building. And we're now kind of expanding that value chain, right? So we have lots of customers like Zoom, for example, using Synthesia to prepare their team with video. Now we can actually help those teams also practice the content. So let's say you're watching a 5-minute video. It's about a new product that's been launched. Historically, you would stop there, you would go out, you'd get on a call with the customer, and you'd probably spend like some calls and like honing in your pitch, making sure you really understood everything.
Yeah.
Now you can go into a live session with an avatar that you actually are talking to. The avatar will pretend to be a customer, and you basically run it like you would with a normal sales call. The average session length is around 20 minutes, which is pretty high. And you then get a score after, right? So all the different dimensions you can set up as a customer, product knowledge, following the sales process, building empathy, and so on and so forth. And so for the learner, what this means is that you actually get a chance to practice out loud before you get in front of a customer. And for the executive team, what's really interesting is that we can actually begin to build a graph of all the talent in your company. What are they good at? What are they less good at on an individual level, on a team level, on a geographical basis? And that's very, very helpful in terms of upskilling teams to be ready for whatever you're launching, but also what we're seeing a big trend in right now is being ready for the age of AI, right? The way everyone is working is changing very significantly, and companies really need to upskill their workforce. But this is kind of our first product in that foray. It's going really, really well so far. And later in the year, we'll be launching a bunch of other agents you can use for things like if you want to do a survey, instead of just sending people something to fill out with text, it's actually an interview, kind of like, a McKinsey consultant would sit down with someone from your team, speak to them for 20 minutes, and report back to management how people are feeling, or your customers, whatever you want to do. So it's very exciting.
Wow, yeah, incredible.
There are
20 minutes is a really long time. That's crazy.
It's really long, yeah.
That's insane.
And it's 70% of people that come back and do multiple attempts. Because it's kind of like a bit like playing a game, actually.
Yeah.
You go in and then you like do the first attempt, and then you get a live coaching call after. So an avatar will basically tell you what you did well, what you did less well. Then once you've taken that feedback, you can go back, try it again, and then you can improve in that way.
Do you feel, just a quick question, now I'm thinking live, where do you feel that kind of simulation going? Because I saw an X post recently about simulating someone's like roofing business with like a kind of Sims style map.
I saw that. That was sick.
And now I'm thinking kind of like, you mentioned this kind of creating it into some form of game. Where do you see that going? Do you feel like, interns, early employees, people leaving, university straight away, even like people wanting to start a company, maybe they're in university or in school.
Enterprise sales teams.
And they want to kind of simulate doing something, and you can do a real-time simulation of like building a company or whatever it is. Where do you feel that's going? I feel like that's going to be a trend at some point.
It's going to be huge. I think most people would agree that you learn something by actually doing it. You don't learn to ride a bike by reading a book about it, right? You learn to ride a bike by actually getting on the bike and biking. You learn to be a great SDR by actually getting on 25 calls with customers and learning on the job. And almost everything in life you learn by actually doing the thing, right?
Sure.
And for some things, we've been able to simulate it in the past. But what's happened now is that we have the kind of intelligence on tap from all the LLMs, which are just phenomenally good at pretending to be a customer, for example. We have the video and the audio technology and the kind of graphics technology where we can actually do all this stuff in real time. And so what I think what we'll see is actually a huge surge in education as a sector, because every company in the world needs their employees to know what they're doing, right? There's a difference between the best person in your company and the less good person in your company. And oftentimes that is tenure, right? That's what we hear from so many of our customers. Just like if you've been selling Synthesia for 3 years, you'll have done way more reps than someone who joined us like last week. And if you can even out that gap faster by enabling people to practice, that's going to be huge. And I think other types of simulation, I was on a podcast a while back where we ended up talking about computer games. And I think I played a lot of like Roller Coaster Tycoon when I was a kid. I played a lot like Warcraft, these like strategy simulation games. And from the outside in, it kind of looks like you're just playing a game, and you are, but you're actually training your decision making, right? You're training your ability to plan, to think ahead, like in multiple steps. And basically that is what all this technology unlocks for a lot of the work that we do in offices and in real work life today, right? Another big customer of ours are doing this with difficult conversations and manager training. Cool. So if you have to have there's so much digital transformation going on right now. And I can attest to that. We're a big company now. It's not easy, right, to launch a new product, get people to think a new way. Like when you're 50 people, it's easy. It's not very easy if you're like 1,000 people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is going to be a completely normal kind of modality in how we work. I actually think of this a lot of being kind of a next generation meeting in some way, shape, or form. If you think about the sales training example or manager training, very often you'll actually role play that with your manager, right? But of course, your manager doesn't have time to role play with you all the time. So it becomes just like once in a blue moon. It's also like a little bit awkward because you obviously know that your manager is not actually like a customer. And so I think we'll see the rise of these like new types of meetings, which are not going to be human to human meetings. It's going to be agent to human meetings. Now that could be role playing a sales call. It could also be, as I said before, McKinsey consultant interviewing potential customers to figure out, like, learn something about the industry or the market that you want to enter. It could be doing pulse surveys with your team to figure out what excites people, what are people less excited about. And what's so unique is that because we have LLMs now, this is not just like static, right? People have been doing pulse surveys or customer research by sending out like a form that people then have to like sit and type out in for a very long time. But there's two problems with forms. One of them is that typing feels like work, right? Like sitting down and typing for 20 minutes feels like work. Talking doesn't really feel like work. And so you say way more, you get way richer information when people talk than when they type. I can say way more in 5 minutes than I can type in 5 minutes. And these things, because they work in real time, they have the capability to actually go in and ask follow-up questions, right? In a form, if you say, hey, what excites you at company X? And you say, I like my colleagues. Like an LLM wouldn't take that for a good enough answer to say, okay, great. Why do you like your colleagues? Which they can dig deeper, right? Which is exactly what a real person would do. So I think that in the future, when you're working at a company, it's going to be very normal that you're going to have, of course, human-to-human meetings for creative brainstorming, all these things that really matter. You'll also be having way more of these like conversations with agents. And I think right now, a lot of this stuff happens in text. But it's very clear to me that, text is good for some things, but a lot of things, text is not very good for. And even voice isn't good enough for a lot of things. If you're training a salesperson how to conduct themselves in a multi-million-dollar sale, like, you don't want that to be a 40-minute phone call. That's weird, right? You need an avatar that can show you slides, that can draw on the screen, that can do all sorts of kind of other things. And that's a lot of the capabilities that we're going to be launching by the end of this year.
So sick. I have two questions straight off the back of this. One is one about the future of this space, and the second one is more of like an internal, a personal framework for you on decision making internally. We'll start with the more fun one, which is about the future. If we can move to a progression of agent on human, or avatar on human conversation base. Would there be a realm in which like we can have avatar on avatar once they reach a certain like intelligence point? Like my avatar could be trained by your avatar, for example, in a way. Like, how far off would that? Is that realistic? And what do you think about that future?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's kind of a fun way to think about it, but I think what we'll have to discover is like, where is that actually valuable, right? I don't think we're going to get into a world where you'll just like send your avatar and your avatar will like do all your meetings for you. We maybe get to a world where your avatar can be present in a meeting where you're not. Like, let's say you're a solutions engineer and your sales team is talking to a customer and trying to figure out like, how do you want to implement this thing? Instead of a solutions engineer having to sit in all of those meetings, the avatar can maybe listen in. The people in the meeting, the humans, can ask the avatar a question and it can respond, correctly, because it'll be trained to think like a solutions engineer at Synthesia. And then that solutions engineer can then look at how the conversation went, what was discussed, what's the next steps, begin doing that in the background, but basically don't have to be in as many meetings as you are today. I think that should be the goal of all this, because everyone who works in a big company has the feeling that like, there's a lot of meetings you're in, you didn't necessarily have to be in, right? So if we can focus our time as humans on doing the most important parts of our job, which is generally not like sitting and listening in to meetings, I think that's going to be a huge step up. And so I think we will have some version of what you described here, right? Where you'll have an avatar which knows you really well and kind of can go and attend meetings for you and do work for you, basically.
That's so cool. It brings me on to the second question. Like, you guys, you've been scaling very quickly. You've been scaling very successfully as well. You obviously have multiple product lines and are starting to explore what they look like, sort of like innovation being at the front of all of that. But we've had conversations in the past for companies that are both really early and also scaling and also your size, around like, how do you make decisions on how to set up new products internally? And it was Gokul, was it Marathon Partners? Marathon. Mentioned that like, a take that he's heard and one that he's sort of advised founders on in the past has been, you kind of place these small seed rounds, these small pre-seed rounds in ideas around depending on the size of the company, and you kind of want to have a couple maybe going at a time, and then if one of those products or whatever it is graduates to a pre-seed, you put more money into it, or maybe it hits a Series A, and then you start really focusing on it, and it becomes a product internally based off, whether, I guess a simple metric would just be like how much money are we putting in, and like is there growth or is there ARR coming back? Do you have a framework around? Is it similar to that? Is it like something that you've developed over the course of time? Because it sounds like you guys are getting to a point where you're really excited to like innovate and experiment. Would be really curious to hear.
I think that is the exact right approach, and that's also what we're doing. I think Revolut has also historically been really, really good at spinning up these like small teams and treating it almost like a separate company. I think getting to that development process has definitely been a great learning experience as someone who hasn't like built a multi-product company before.
Yeah.
And I think there's just no doubt that if you want to be successful with these things, you have to isolate it from the rest of the company. And I think very importantly, you want like the go-to-market team and the product team and the success team and the engineering team and the design team to work together more in a pod than it's like a cross-functional thing where someone spends like 30% of their time designing for a new product. What you want to simulate is what every successful company does in the early days is like 10, 15 people-ish, something like that, sitting in a room at the same desk, having lunch together, constantly just like riffing on things, hashing out kind of, any like misalignments and being able to like move like really, really quickly. So we totally subscribe to that model as well.
Yeah, so cool. We've obviously interviewed you before. I've seen a number of interviews that you've done as well, just outside. When you guys set up Synthesia, like, did you think that you mentioned then it's the first time that I've ever sort of run a multi-billion valued company with multiple product lines. When you and the rest of your co-founding team like set this up, did you have any idea of how big the opportunity was? Like, what did you see a world in which you got to a point that you are at today, or?
I think that the reason we persisted throughout the first 3 or 4 years, which like weren't very fun because we were very early, right? Like the tech basically didn't work for the first 3 or 4 years. And even when it did start working, it was at a very low quality. We had to kind of like find the first real addressable market. We kept going because we all believe that there's going to be really, really, really big companies built around AI video technology. I think you should probably have the doubt is like, are we going to be the right team to do it? Are we too early? Maybe we should have started the company like in 2020 and not in 2017. But we never lost faith that there's a massive opportunity here. And I think for me, what we're moving into now with more kind of agentic style of video, which is real time and conversational and two-way.
Yeah.
To me, that's always felt like this is the really, really, really big market that this is like the $100 billion opportunity. Creating video with AI is also massive. And I think we've seen outcomes, you think of something like Canva, right? Where basically everyone became a graphical designer. Like they're a massive company today, but there's such a big paradigm shift happening right now. And I think that, a few years ago, I did a TED talk, right? This provocative statement that like your kids are going to be the last generation to read and write, which caused a lot of controversy because people don't want to stop reading and writing because we put a lot of kind of value on that, which I get. But I really do believe.
This is a TED talk that you did? Sorry.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Wait, I hadn't seen this. This is fascinating. Wait, what was that whole our generation?
The whole idea is basically that like text is a great technology. We invented it a very long time ago, and text is basically compression, right? Like you have something you want to share, like an experience, a story, something like that, and you can write it down in text. And text is great because we can send text over the internet very, very quickly. We could, back before the internet, we could print books, and so we could actually share information in a way we couldn't by like going and talking to each other. But text is highly compressed, right? If you think about trying to explain an image, it's basically impossible, right? Like you can't like almost no matter how many words I give you. If I gave you exactly the same description of an image, you too would imagine 2 different images in your mind, right? And that's the kind of compression you can't really get out of with text. And so most of us, I would say everyone, prefers consuming information in real life. That's what we're built to do. We have all of our senses. We can see, we can hear, we can touch, we can feel. And the arc of like communication technologies has always been to get us closer and closer to the experience of being in real life, right? That's why video and that's why audio is having a renaissance now. And so I think in the future, I mean, there probably will be use cases for just like sending a quick text to someone, but I very genuinely believe that almost all of our communication, everything we learn when we do sales, we talk to companies, almost all of that is going to be a visual experience in the not too distant future. It's just a matter of getting it to a point where it's truly scalable Obviously videos in a few years are not going to be really made by humans sitting down and like nudging every pixel and building every frame.
Yeah.
It's just going to be as scalable as text is today, right?
How do you, as a founder, kind of, you will ultimately be leading a charge if you decide to kind of go down that route like heavily. And obviously we kind of talked about, kind of putting little pre-seed checks into a bunch of ideas. But how do you make the decision, and when do you make the decision to say, okay, this is something that, it's the right time to go and do this? You've kind of got the backbone of Synthesia and, ripping, and it's doing really, really well. But then when do you say, okay, now is the time to kind of make a new product and make a little bit of a product shift into this direction? When do you know? Well, I guess you don't know, but like, how are you kind of personally thinking about making that decision? And when do you think you would do that?
So these are actually thoughts we've been having like since 2017 when we founded the company. The idea that the very like core idea is that video is going to become programmable, right? You're not going to have to run around with a sensor in the real world and film things. And you're going to be able to have a conversation with it, like what we can do today.
Sure.
For me, I think there's sort of two gates. Like we always monitor the core technology. Like back in 2017, when we founded the company, the tech didn't work right, but there were kind of small signs that if that like rate of progress continued, you would probably at some point get to a point where video could actually be generated by AI and it would be like good enough to use for something. And so that's when we started investing in the technology. And I would say with real time, it's been a bit the same for us. Like, people have been asking about real time video for, many years. And basically like maybe 1.5 years ago-ish, something like that, we started to see the signs that like, okay, now there's like interesting stuff happening. It's not like complete crap anymore. The latency is becoming better. It doesn't look like you're speaking to some like video game from 1993. This is probably the time to begin investing in the technology, right? Because there's a big investment up front. There's a lot of uncertainty around like actually building the tech. And then as you get closer to that, then what you want to try and figure out is like, what is the actual application for this? Because something like real-time video is like, everyone you meet will be very excited about it, and they'll have these ideas of like, I can have an avatar that goes to my meetings, like all these like fun ideas that we all like to think about. But then the real question is, that's for sure like a fun demo, but where is it actually valuable? And so the way I think about innovation is the technology piece, but also very much like, what is an actual product you could build around this, which isn't just cool, but is valuable. That's also why when you look at what we just launched last week, that is the result of a process of like trying to figure out, okay, we have this technology. We know that in 10 years, it can be used for everything, right?
Yeah.
If you want to like do product demos, if you want to like have a virtual girlfriend, I don't know, whatever weird things people are going to want to do with it, that'll probably be possible. But what is the first thing we can see value in? And understanding from our customers, from, the world around us, the markets that we operate in, one of the key things was this idea of like simulating conversations can be truly valuable, right? And having a face to that simulated conversation rather than just a voice makes it more realistic, because if you're a salesperson or if you're having a difficult conversation, you're definitely looking at another human, right? You're probably not having that conversation like just over the phone.
Sure.
And so that's the first foray into that, figuring out then, okay, great, what do we need to build around it? Of course, the product is not just an avatar. It comes with a whole, analytics platform, setting it up, creating the experience, and so on and so forth. And then now what we're doing is basically figuring out, okay, great, that's the first one. That's going really well. What are going to be the next ones? And I think the great founders can kind of hold both the technical piece and the kind of product piece in their minds at the same time.
I appreciate we're over time, but can I ask one more question?
Go for it.
I wanted to ask about how you think people will interact with LLMs going forward. Obviously, we now have a text box. You get text back. How do you feel that experience kind of evolving? I jump into Claude. How can I interact with the LLM to get the response that I want back? Where do you see that evolving? If kind of the big bet is audio and video, where do you see that moving?
I mean, personally, when I use any of these tools, probably 60-70% of the time, I'm actually like using my voice, because I've just figured that I can give much richer prompts by talking for like 15 seconds than I can if I type for 15 seconds, right?
Sure.
And I think that's the experience most people have. And obviously, the better prompt you give, the better answer you're going to get back. So I think we're going to move into a world where you're going to be talking. I think a lot of people already use things like, screenshots. I do for sure myself. I'm going to share your screen very soon. So I think it's going to be much more multimodal. I also think a lot of workflows are going to start from within these LLMs, a bit like a lot of workflows start in Google today. But I think what we will see is that those companies are going to be masses, but they're going to be more infrastructure. Right now we're seeing a lot of like, oh, I just like vibe coded my CRM system for my 3-person company, or like I made a presentation or something. And obviously, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's great, right? But I think a lot of people then struggle to like, okay, great, now I've got like an HTML file back from Claude. And the way I can use that HTML file is like by prompting again, that I don't like slide 17. And it's just a very tedious process. And I don't think text is the best modality for a lot of, for some use cases, it for sure is, right? But for a lot of use cases, I think what you'll see is that a lot of actions will start from within these LLMs, but then they'll get taken somewhere else to actually finalize it. So if you want to create a role play with our product, right, maybe you'll prompt it first in there. It'll have a lot of context that we may not have as a company because you're using Claude all the time.
Yeah.
And then it'll like draft it in Synthesia, give it to you. You go in, you play around with it. If you want to like change the avatar, you use your mouse. You don't try and like explain exactly what you want, right? That's not as good of an interface. If you want to switch something around in the sequence of how this thing is going to take place, drag it around with your mouse, change something by doing it in text. I think that's going to be the modality going forward. And I think there's always like, you know, the last 15% really matters, especially in enterprise software. Like getting to a demo is great and it's cool, but the devil really is in the details. I think a lot of times when you're deploying like actual production ready software.
That's
super interesting.
I'm sorry, I just have one super quick one left. I know you probably have somewhere to be. Jensen is back. Jensen is, well, he's not even back. He's his first time ever. He's posted on X. He's gone viral just around this, the open source conversations versus proper conversations at the moment. There's a lot of tech sovereignty thrown in there as well. Any thoughts on just the discourse right now around this open source trend that we're seeing? It seems that there's a shift away from token maxing, more towards like economically viable maxing. like people are just being a little bit more cautious with their AI spend in terms of like, I don't need Fable to write me, write up my meeting notes. Maybe I can use something a bit less powerful. Any thoughts on the topic? Yeah.
I think 100% that's the direction it's going to go. I think what you see now with, like, I wouldn't say we're like saturating, right? Like these models are obviously getting better and better. But if you look at like 95% of the deployed use cases, most of them don't need the latest and greatest, right? You can do it with like even a model that's maybe 6 or 12 months old.
Yeah.
And so I think there will be for sure like a huge market for frontier models, which maybe do like very, very advanced things. But if you look at a lot of the things people are doing today with these, like if you're a company and you want your sales team to have a chatbot that can like retrieve an answer from your knowledge base about like what's the product cost in like Southeast Asia, you don't need Fable for that. That's a waste of money, right? You could probably use something open source that's already comes deployed on one of these like new providers and just train it to be really good at that. And so I think token maxing and like value maxing, as I think of it, is true both on an individual level, but also on a company level, right? Like people are now figuring out, okay, which use cases are actually valuable, which are not. The ones that are valuable, what are we paying for them? And if we're paying a lot for them, how do we go towards a world where we reduce that spend, right? And I think it's not just about tokens, actually. I think there's a lot of nuance on, there's been this sort of, which I think is the right way of approaching it, but like, let's use AI for everything. You know, just throw AI at it.
Yeah.
And in many instances, it's great, but it can also produce, I think, net negative productivity. I'll give you one example. I shared a note with my team like a couple of months back, basically saying that I'm seeing too much like AI slop writing, right? Like, you know, people go in and because we can all now write really long, very eloquent, very like great sounding documents, we do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good. They're an amazing tool for writing. That helps all of us save a lot of time. But if what you're doing is like putting in 3 bullet points and turning into 3 pages and then sharing it because you're like, look how much work I did. I made a beautiful Notion pages, has all this like shit on it. Is it really worth 3 pages? Or are we just like building AI slop? And the problem is not the person creating it, right? It's the fact that if you then send it to 30 people, if they have to spend 5 minutes reading it instead of like 30 seconds, that's a net loss of like productivity because a lot of it's like AI slop writing, right? There isn't that much additional information necessarily. It just like is made to sound great. And I think we'll see a lot of that stuff. I think we'll see in customer interactions, like in some customer interactions, it'll make a ton of sense to use AI. In other customer interactions, it won't, or maybe it'll actually be negative. I think it's just, we're in this like phase of the market where we're beginning to like figure out where are we applying AI just because it's AI, we want to like try it out, and where we're actually getting kind of like real value out of it.
Yeah. I remember that post. I remember covering that post when you put it out. Yeah, that was really good. I saw we're so over. Sorry,
we apologise for taking so much of your day.
Dude, so good to welcome you back. It's a nice full circle moment for us because you were on our first show initially and you're on our first one when we get back. So we really appreciate it. You always know we're huge fans of you. So always here.
Likewise, congrats on the guys.
Come and see the studio as well.
Looking sharp in the suits.
Yeah, you got to come in and you got to wear a suit. I know you never wear suits, but you got to wear a suit when you come in.
I got one now. So
Let's go.
After G7.
After the G7
next time we'll talk about that.
Anyway, all right, we'll see you soon. Good chat.
See you guys.
Let's just jump into Hex, the AI analytics platform where trust meets insight. Hex helps teams of all sizes by giving teammates the ability to get insights from their data via natural language, code, and or familiar BI interfaces wherever they work. Get a hex.com. Right, we have George Robson coming on in about 1 minute, unless
he'll be knocking on
he
shortly.
Is knocking on the door. He's not in the waiting room yet, so he's actually
not actually knocking. Him ringing the
doorbell. Should we go through some of our?
You like that one?
Quite like that. That's my first one I've ever done. What about Wii Sports?
I love this one.
Wii Sports is the best.
It's like, so this is what we've been up to. You miss us? Hey, well we're back. This is us now. ETN is back, guys.
Tango down. Or the tango down.
Well, you didn't give them all away.
Sorry.
You don't want to give them all away. George Robson, partner at Sequoia Capital, is joining us in a minute. George Robson was previously one of the youngest, if not the youngest, partner to ever join Sequoia. I think it was the age of 25.
After a cold email to Luciano.
Yes, and I'm going to ask him straight away about that story when he comes on because I want to hear about it. I know we discussed it ages ago.
God, look how big that table looks.
Look at that table. Look at that. It's looking quite bare.
Have we gained an employee as well? What? Who's?
We've got more people in the studio than we previously.
Alex has just hired.
Look at all this room though we have on this table.
It's great. I wonder what could go there.
Prime real estate.
Maybe someone wants to take it up. Who knows? It's like the physical version of the $1 million homepage.
Yes, but it is, what's our word for it? A piece of wood area.
Table?
Wait, I have a response to the thing I just said then. Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun using these.
That's great. Is George in this? He is?
George is in. We're ready to bring
because we don't have enough time to go through news, but we do have enough time to bring George into the studio.
This probably works better. There we go.
Here we go.
George is in. George, how are we?
Oh, can you hear us? George, can you hear us?
How's that?
Yeah, loud.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? That is the question. Our first technical issues on ETN.
Thank you for spending time with us.
Oh, maybe not.
We lost him.
Our first technical issue on ETN.
It had to happen.
Let me.
Maybe technical difficulties.
Can we get the lights to move around when that happens?
Oh, there we go.
George, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. I can see you. You look fantastic.
Yes.
Congratulations for the day, gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying it. This is an amazing.
It's very kind of you to say.
We're having a great time, George.
A lot better now that you're here. Second time on the show. It's a great moment for us to have you on launch day, and we have so much to dig into. We just said then, before we start the conversation, I wanted to ask you again. I know we discussed it last time, but I just want to hear the story again about how you became the youngest partner at Sequoia ever, or employee at Sequoia. I can't even remember it now, but there's some cold emailing going on, and I know that Sean Maguire and Matan Factory have a similar story around this as well. But would love to hear from you. How did you become Sequoia's youngest partner?
Yeah, I mean, so firstly, that's high praise. I joined Sequoia nearly 6 years ago, actually, when we opened our office here in London, as you may know. Everyone at Sequoia has a different journey, I think, to make their way here. What is nice about it, we're all typically pretty busy living our lives, and the stars align. I think in some way that's pretty typical for people coming into venture. Mine was no different. So I was coming out of Revolut. I've been at Revolut, for a bunch of years, building the consumer subscription business, a range of different products. I was actually founding a company that was in healthcare, so nothing to do with the fintech that I knew. I was closing the seed round for that business. Somebody said, hey, do you want to have a conversation with Sequoia? I met with a couple of the team and ultimately met with a guy called Roelof Botha, who you may know ran Sequoia until kind of October last year. He was the guy in some ways because he came from fintech. He'd been youngest CFO on the NASDAQ, taking PayPal public. and then been investing a lot in healthcare. So he managed to jujitsu me out of building that company and sort of convinced me that I could come to Sequoia, learn about building, frankly, better businesses than I was going to found. And I always thought about my life as there's like George and there's kind of factual George, right? The guy who takes the other fork in the road. And I think he saved me years of my life building a pretty tough company. So yeah, that's true for a lot of my colleagues. We have similar stories in making our way here.
When you were raising and someone's like, "Hey, I know this guy at Sequoia you should chat to," was there a part of you like, "Oh, Sequoia are gonna lead this"? Like,
yeah. I thought that was the base case. Yeah, if I'm honest, I mean, I didn't think that I would necessarily be investing, but I think that is actually the best way to come into it, right? Because you come into it more interested by the process of building companies, obviously working hands-on with entrepreneurs, but you think about it from a builder mindset. And then I think the beautiful thing about this job at Sequoia is, we partner with those founders from the pre-seed, right? So from day one, we can do it through the entire journey. And you need a level of respect and humility for how insane the founder journey is, which, by the way, both of you are going through, to make sure that you can make it work.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Dude, yeah, so good to have you back on. Let's dig into the stuff that seems to be taking up the timeline at the moment. A lot of the conversations, even today, our first show back, have been around European sovereignty, European AI. Connected to that, we had the CEO of Axel Springer on earlier, about an hour ago. He had what may be seen as a controversial take, in the sense that, I kind of posed the question to him. When I hear the words European sovereignty, I have in the past kind of heard that just means worse tech sometimes. In this conversation around, we can't use any US stuff, we just have to use European stuff. I think there's probably a great mid ground we can find there. You just give me your sort of perspective on the whole sovereignty debate right now. We feel like it was kind of really catalyzed by the Fable recall. But yeah, we'd love to hear it straight from you.
Yeah, I think one thing I would add to that, I think sovereignty is a pretty nuanced adjective to describe anything, right? I think a piece which I borrowed from Harry and Charlie Songhurst is this notion of not thinking about sovereignty, but thinking about being indispensable, right? What is much more important is producing technologies you can't get anywhere else easily, and that you can build a set of sort of competitive advantages around. Doing that is hard, right? It requires insane talent density, particularly during periods in time where there is great technological change, right? Because what we typically observe is when the technology is changing quickly, the benefits of you being in one place, right, and having everybody within one, arm's reach of each other is ginormous. And then in today's world, just given the nature of a lot of the technologies that are being built, capital intensity matters, right? So when you think about that overlay of like, where should a set of sovereign capabilities exist in Europe, it really matters where you're talking about in the stack, right? I think what we do a lot of is, we do a lot of hardware investing. We're actually not afraid of going into like pretty low level infrastructure. Obviously what you have is much longer gestation times typically for those technologies. If you're talking about fabs, which is something Europe has, relatively limited capacity for. Yeah. And even those initiatives that are coming online, these are not like frontier chips that are being manufactured. These are things that are more suitable for things like automotive, right? Or kind of, let's say, more like mainstream industries. That is something that will take tens of billions of euros, require intense coordination between private companies, obviously investors and nation states. But the nice thing is when you start to go up and you think about like layers built on top of that, chip design, there is like a very long heritage here in Europe, in and around the Cambridge ecosystem. Obviously a lot of very interesting technologies built out of Eindhoven. You have these incredible centers of excellence. Photonics is something where Europe has actually been exceptional for decades. Photonics is something where we're just seeing increasingly the frontier being pushed in terms of those things having widespread commercial applications. And then there is the more kind of obvious stuff that is coming in, not just because of what you mentioned around Mythos and Fable, but kind of the second order effects of some of the regulation around it, where if you're operating in a what's called like level 3 or level 4 assurance industry, meaning like something from legal tax accounting being level 3, healthcare financial services being level 4, you have pretty clear obligations today to think about the technologies you're buying, not just in terms of where it's actually being stored from a data perspective, but actually also things like who is running the company. Like, is it free from foreign interference? Can you prove that if you had to leave in a short time frame, you could do it and you have an exit pathway? These are things that are actually beyond just sort of preferences. They're pretty explicit, and that regulation is coming into effect. And that's before you get into finally things like, robotics. Europe has actually done a relatively good job of not totally destabilizing domestic manufacturing. Yeah. It is just not particularly automated, but there's actually a pretty nice legacy and also a pretty nice corpus of people doing that today. So we're optimistic about that. And then finally, obviously, defense. I think seeing, the early breakouts of companies like Stark, or of course, businesses like Helsing is important. But we think that there is, so much to be done by those companies, and we think it's just getting started.
Yeah, wow, so much to dig into there. That sort of comment around it seems to be that the stage is set for Europe in general to succeed, and it seems that like some countries, maybe like Germany specifically, like the sort of automotive industry has propped up that manufacturing past in a way to a point now where it could just be not sort of passed on, but like defense can come in and sort of use all that capacity up and really push it forward. Is there like other leaders around Europe that you think are emerging? Like when I associate defense technology, I kind of associate it with, Germany. If I look at like robotics, like maybe it's somewhere in Scandinavia perhaps, or even also Germany as well. Like are there sort of European hubs that are popping up? Like,
yeah, it's actually, so it's something we spend a lot of time on because, of course, like sometimes we might go out into the world and be particularly opinionated around a theme and try and, co-build or co-create a company. It is much easier for us if there are people who've spent decades thinking about these technologies who are frankly just looking for a partner to go and build it. Yeah. I think what is important today is sometimes there's a narrative around, is there money available for deep tech founders in Europe to take big swings? The answer is unequivocally yes. The money exists. There are, people like ourselves, but there are, many others who are excited to go to war with these founders to really build something of consequence. I think the nuance is like entrepreneurs just need to take that first step. And the reality of what we spend a lot of time doing is going to ecosystems where there are already these exceptional people who frankly may not always appreciate how special they are in terms of what they can do. And I'll give you 2 examples, but we sort of nudge people over the line sometimes to just take that level of confidence. I think 2 places that really stand out for us, one, of course, Eindhoven, home of ASML, incredible community. I'm sure you guys know the history, but like came out of Philips, which is this like incredible company that really took almost like an Elon Musk before Elon Musk, first principles approach to, if we don't have something in our supply chain that we don't own, let's build that capability locally. And they would effectively insource absolutely everything. And that level of vertical integration is a mindset really more than it is anything else. I think ASML, is an interesting offshoot. It is already, one of our most valuable companies off the back of that. So that really matters in a world of, the performance of these chips being pushed, new designs coming to market faster, ideally cheaper than ever, and Europe having an unfair, comparative advantage in how that would operate. But it shows up in more local examples, right? In the UK, we have Milton Keynes. We had this phenomenon of like post-World War II, Silverstone was effectively an airfield. The war ended, it was turned into a racetrack. You have 8 of the 11 Formula One teams based within 25 miles or something around, Motorsport Valley. And they started pretty small. There used to be tens of engineers, but now they have thousands of engineers. So if you look across the world, really outside of Los Angeles, you probably have the highest density of truly frontier mechanical engineers, fluid dynamics, simulation software, all this stuff being built. And I would say that, shining a light on that is important because you can be this exceptional person sat at McLaren or Mercedes, and you don't think of yourself as living in the future because your life's pretty interesting and it's pretty busy. But it turns out you could go raise venture funding to do whatever you're doing and build a company of scale. So our job is, I would say, a little bit going and sometimes nudging, but it's trying to engage with people at that right time.
How do you, because I think in the US, there is just more discourse, more chat about the fact that you can go and raise a big round, or you can go and just you can just do things, right? That's almost like this. It's the US is built around that ethos, whereas Europe kind of, you have to kind of nudge people a little bit, or almost just not even. You just have to show that it's possible, right? So, how do you kind of create that narrative in such a large place where it is so fragmented as well? So there's different ways to get to certain people. How do you kind of create that narrative? What do you think are like the steps to be able to, almost get to all of these different types of people and almost just show them that there is a door into this world that they, even say 3% of them actually go and walk into when they realize that there is a door there. That 3% could go and create, the next Revolut or the next ASML. How do you even kind of start to kind of build that, in your position?
I think so. Effectively, the answer is you try and normalize that level of risk taking, right? And the nice thing you have sometimes if you grow up in the Bay Area or you spend an extended amount of time there, you sort of exist in this cocoon, right, of making those kind of decisions, and it normalizes it. The secret, obviously, is effectively storytelling, right, and showing existence proof for these different stories. Some of that is storytelling that you take from the States, right? I think the advantage of the way we operate, we're one team, one fund family across US and Europe. Sure. We see the market side by side. We're aware of some of the latency differences that may exist. And by the way, sometimes Europe may be ahead, but maybe just not with the same level of aggression, right? So sometimes what we're trying to do is just, I guess, shine a light on that. But frankly, it's initiatives like this. It's exactly what you're doing, right? It's trying to normalize the conversation around it. I think that's incredibly important. But actually, I think the other piece, which is quite interesting to us, each European ecosystem is a kind of such a scale that it's possible that 4 or 5 entrepreneurs, the kind of previous generation of super founders, can actually completely change the trajectory of that ecosystem. Part of it is, the competencies that have spun out of those previous generations of businesses, right?
Yeah.
So you might be a Revolut, but maybe that means you have a lot of, crypto DNA, and the next evolution of that market might be around digital assets and stable coins, and you see that diaspora form. It could be something like that. But often sometimes it's just about like normalizing the fact that now you have angel investors, now you have entrepreneurs that are willing to come and like coerce a little bit and make sure that the situation is set up in the right way. And then I think it's sometimes just reminding yourself that as a founder, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you go out and raise, $2 million as a pre-seed to build your pretty capex heavy hardware company, it might be hard for you because you're not going to be able to have the same firepower and recruit as aggressively and do that work. But again, I think today it's not a capital shortage, particularly at the early stages. Sometimes it's just about a level of clarity and sort of finding a way to communicate and storytell around these intermediate goals so you can achieve your ambition.
Sure.
Nice. Just sort of spanning out now, looking at more of like a global picture in general. Jensen is on X. He's come on X. He's put out an open letter, and I think it's on like 65 million impressions.
At least maybe 70 probably.
Yeah. And now we've seen everyone kind of, there's a huge open weights, open source debate is going on right now, and we're seeing what some are describing as a certain level of game theory being played here with a bunch of larger companies, but a lot of support, which is great to see. Any thoughts on this right now? Like, how is this? Like, we're starting to see AI become, I guess, in many ways, like a geopolitical asset as well as a brilliant technology. The way that people are kind of dancing around it. I referenced earlier before the show a good friend of ours and also of the show, Sam Hogg, refers to the leaders of the leaders of the AI labs. Like, they're kind of like operating mini sovereign states now, given the attention and the power and the influence they have. Any takes, just high level, on what we're seeing at the moment with China, open source, and how leaders are reacting to it?
I think there's a bunch in there. I think one, Jensen is obviously an incredible ambassador for the community, not just because he is so upstream and willing to take such a long-term view, it's actually that he also puts his money where his mouth is, right? I think the Nematron stuff is fascinating. He's been an incredible partner for a company in our portfolio called Reflection, right, which focuses on some of those characteristics in the US market. And actually the NCP stuff is pretty interesting in this idea of like, how do you open up access to compute for smaller companies, working with data center infrastructure providers and inference providers to unlock that. So I think thinking about, not just the regulation and the geopolitics, but also the market structure, I think is incredibly important when you want these markets to thrive in the long run. I think we do see this beautiful coexistence between, as you say, closed source and open source. There are lots of, honestly, pretty fascinating conversations around distillation and what that will look like. And also the ability, by the way, for distillation to, obviously reduce IP, but in some ways also to accelerate it.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is a debate that has really reared its head over the course of the last maybe month or so. Really, you've really started to feel it. You might have seen this piece from my partners, Constantine and Dean, which I thought was fantastic on that. So I think those conversations are being had. I think the engagement actually with the tech community to have it has been, personally, I've been quite impressed with it. I think it's amazing to see lots of different voices being included, and it's definitely not over.
I feel like, I don't know, look outside looking in, we're kind of at a really pivotal point in I don't even want to call it a race, just like the narrative of AI and how it's going. Like, it's never been more popular, or the conversation around open source itself. And we're seeing like the guys over at Hugging Face doing an amazing job as kind of championing and just being like very open in the way that they're having this discourse. But it seems to me like we're at an inflection point, I think. One like that is relatively, well, it is quite literally unprecedented. What do you think the future of open source will look like? Is there a debate here where this is the future for AI and like the prop stuff might not be as necessary anymore? Or for global distribution, I mean, maybe in some very, very specific cases. Yeah.
Almost like the closed models are kind of there for the infrastructure, whereas the usage is there for the open weight to kind of, take that on, I don't know.
I think there's a coexistence. I think there's a sophistication argument, right? Of obviously it's easy for you to buy something that is hosted. It's easy for that to be, packaged in a way that is easy for you to consume across your use case.
Yeah.
Closed source historically has been the right way to think about delivering that, assuming you don't think there'll be 10 million FDEs running around, fully implementing open source for your custom application, right? So there's a sophistication piece. The counter to that obviously is cost, right? And cost really relative to performance. The reality is today you still have an incredible rate of technological improvement in closed source models, who in many ways are the ones that are driving the frontier, given the capital intensity that is involved in achieving that. The nuance obviously is that when you get past some level of sophistication, you don't always need a super genius to solve every single problem. So there may be a sense in the future of you sort of mapping the sophistication of what you're trying to do relative to the performance you need and expecting to be compensated in the cost, right, for doing that. It may be acceptable, frankly, for you to use 2 versions old model for you to be able to do whatever it is you're doing, which by the way may not be priced particularly expensively in the future. And that will obviously factor into your decision to go and migrate onto your own infrastructure. I think the final piece though is basically post-training. And that again requires a level of sophistication, but like the MLOps platforms start to get better and better. If you're an application that has a bunch of proprietary metadata that you want to internalize into some post-training workflow, that is a great way for you to take a pretty smart base pre-trained open source model and make sure it's going to be performant for your specific use case. And I think honestly, the direction of that stuff, and particularly reinforcement learning, and a lot of that stuff being used in production by application AI companies, is something that has been spoken about for a couple of years. We've really seen the sort of genesis of that market over the last 6 months, realistically. And that migration, I think, has started to accelerate a little bit more as those capabilities have evolved.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate we're coming up to time, but I just wanted to ask one more question about your distillation kind of piece, because I thought that was super interesting. And I don't want to say it's rare, but like it's actually big. There are 2 sides of an argument where distillation has always been seen as like pretty negative, but now it's kind of seen as like this. It's happened in history already. There was a tweet, I think yesterday, from a guy called Steven Sifonsky, who said Google also distilled Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint by running testing files to build compatibility. Microsoft distilled WordPerfect and Lotus. WordPerfect distilled WordStar. And the kind of thing goes on, and like the chain goes on, and then Chamath quote posted that and said, in other words, don't hate the player, hate the game. And it's this kind of, it's happened in history before. It's now just, I don't know if it's already, if distillation was the thing that you called, it was called back then, I'm not sure. But, what is your take? Because you said, you said that distillation is almost like it's a good thing in a way, because it creates competition and drives things forward quicker. So yeah, what's your kind of take on that?
I think it obviously helps to do that. It helps to close the gap between some frontier closed application and something that is trailing. I think that's absolutely right. As you say, that can improve competition and market structure. It's not free though, right? It means that if you're a business that's building an IP-rich closed source product and that's being effectively undermined frequently, you have to find out a way to manage the risks of that, right? Because in some ways, you are in a competitive world. It might be a competitive world within companies. It might be geopolitical, as you say. And if you believe that certain jurisdictions are not going to penalize distillation, and that's why the gap is so narrow, both in terms of performance, but also in terms of time. It's important for you to factor in, because if you're in a world where effectively your domestic open source capabilities are put at a disadvantage because of their lack of ability to do distillation directly, that is a nuanced conversation. And it's something that actually does require, as you say, governments and regulators and the like to participate in, because it's not something that companies can self-regulate in that way. So I think that those are exactly the arguments. I think that but they are important. They're important for national security. They're important for the economics of running a business. They're like pretty multifaceted.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Super interesting.
Can I just ask one last one before we let you go? So sorry. What's like the market you guys are most excited for right now? Like from Sequoia's point of view or your point of view, like what's getting you really excited?
We are spending, so in and around AI, I think things that are in Europe that are particularly interesting. Photonics, a lot of potential. As I say, this is a set of capabilities that exist in some nice pockets. We mentioned Eindhoven, but Grenoble has a long history. Zurich has a long history. The UK has a pretty good base. So we're just interested to see entrepreneurs coming out there. And then we think that there is so much around, we've seen data center capacity being built, but honestly, just like managed GPU orchestration in the EU, selling into sovereigns and these regulated companies, we think there is huge potential. And it's a market that is surprisingly nascent relative to the size of the opportunity.
Interesting. Really cool. George, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to your busy day. Thank you for spending time with us again. Been an absolute pleasure.
Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, team.
We appreciate it. See you soon.
Cheers, sir.
What a beast. George Robson, partner at Sequoia. Let's just move on to... Oh, the lights change.
Oh, nice. That was awesome.
That's fun. Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on-chain. Go to base.org. Let's do the lights change again. We've got the wide camera.
Oh, I pressed this.
Hey.
That's awesome.
Let's go. Producers going absolutely crazy. Can we get a producer cam?
Let's hit the producer cam. Let's see. Okay. That's so sick. This is so
Let's
awesome.
go. I love that
to
so
see
much.
that.
Okay,
Excellent.
let's move on. We have 8 minutes until our partner Salim is coming on.
Let's go, Salim. Let's hear it for Salim.
What a
with
tune
the
for Salim.
music.
Let's move on. Okay, so
Let's do the exploration company. It's
well, no, we didn't
300 million.
we didn't touch on this
Valuation.
Kaniska article of the FT. I think we should probably read this because it's
okay.
super interesting. Let me start off by reading it. This came out on the weekend. Super interesting article, and then Roland at Sky News had a take as well. So we'll be super quick. It said, chipbuilding and drones will be at the heart of Andy Burnham's drive to reindustrialize Britain. The Minister for AI has said, insisting that the technology would be front and center in the Prime Minister's plan. But Kaniska Narayan told the FT that the government rejected tech boosterism and would act through regulation and other measures to deal with AI's material risks to jobs and national security. Narayan, in his first interview since Burnham promoted him to the cabinet, said he wanted a crucial emerging technology to remain under British control and was learning the lessons of the past when nascent companies had been sold off. On replacing Sir Keir Starmer as Labour leader, Burnham said he wanted to reindustrialise Britain and rejected wrong turns in the 1980s. Narayan, whose role as AI minister under Starmer was more junior, said Burnham's was not a backward-looking vision, and that AI was the way to reindustrialize this country. He said he was focused on AI chips being built here because hardware was most of the economic value, most of the leverage, and most of the supply chain constraint is. It's also what the British public wants to reindustrialize. AI-powered drones would be a crucial part of modern reindustrialization in the defense context, he added. First of all, this is it's an incredible position for us to be in, to have Narayan to one, be able to, we can speak to Narayan, which is really incredible. He is in a very, very powerful position. I think it's one of the first, if not the first, times that an AI minister has been so high in a government position, which is really, really great. I don't know. I wanted to first kind of get your thoughts on it.
I think it sounds great. Let's see what happens. I think it sounds really great. But I got a bit worried when I saw a comment from Burnham's team when they came in about robotaxis, and the comment was along the lines of, "Who are they for? Why do we need these things? Has anyone thought about the people cab drivers and the Uber drivers?"
Sure.
And I thought that was so insane to have if you just left it as cab drivers. Okay, maybe, yeah, fine. But putting Uber drivers in there as well. Because, you could have written the exact same article X amount of years ago when Uber came around. And, why do we need Uber? Who's this for? Has anyone thought about the cab drivers? But then now you're including the technological advancement in the thing you're saying against the next technological advancement, specifically in that industry.
Yeah.
I thought, because obviously, cab drivers, Uber drivers, robotaxis. That seems to me like a very fair evolution as that industry goes forward.
Yeah.
So if you've already seen the benefits that evolution can come from on V1 being cab drivers, why would you then reject V3 in this regard? Well, V4 technically if we include horse and carriages. There are loads of tweets I actually point out this is POV, the POV of a horse and chariot driver in 1865 or something. Why have we got these cars? Why have we got these coal-powered or engine-powered automobiles? Has anyone thought about the horse and chariot guys? Has anyone thought about the horses going to live? No, it's just it's the next step. It's the next evolution. So that worried me. You got a guy coming in day one. He's like, "Yo, what's up with all these robotaxis?" It's oh no.
Oh no.
You're not going to see
any
the waves away.
You're not going to see any waves or Waymos driving around King's Cross.
But then I read stuff like this, and apparently he's focused on AI chips being built here.
So Roland had a take on this, and he said, just read the AI minister's remarks in the FT. We can probably pull this up. This is a tweet about reindustrialization with chip and drone factories. Drones, I get, but chips, really? So he screenshotted the bit of the article, and he said he was focused on AI chips being built here because hardware was where the most economic value, most leverage, most of the leverage, and most of the supply chain constraint is. And realistically, I think Roland is correct. Basically saying
if reindustrialization is the focus, chips aren't necessarily kind of the way to go, because it actually doesn't create much economic value in terms of jobs. And the UK is almost like being sold, not a lie, but like it's kind of being sold a little bit too much. And he said he explained the tweet again and said to take this idea seriously. At the best I can imagine, one, it encourages British chip companies which make their chips abroad but do testing, etc. here. 2, manufacturing parts of the AI hardware chain. 3, use AI to strengthen manufacturing generally. But none of that amounts to AI chips being built here, or if we're honest, reindustrialization. Even if it exceeds, it might improve productivity without adding any new jobs on net. Of course, this is a brief quote, and from my conversations with him, I know the AI minister has a sophisticated understanding of the realities involved, but this isn't the first time something like this has happened. The Starmer government tried to sell the AI growth zones on the basis of good local jobs, even though everyone knows data centers don't employ that many people. And his whole thing was, if the UK is serious about investing in kind of AI hardware, why would it be the part of AI hardware that doesn't actually create kind of any reindustrialization, if that's the focus? And he said right at the end, it would be a shame to give people the wrong idea about it by selling it as something it is not. Again, only one kind of quote pulled from a pretty large article, but I know he's correct. It's a good argument. It'd be interesting to talk to Roland at some point when he comes on the show.
Oh, he's going to come on this Wednesday.
Oh, there we
he's
go.
coming in here. He's going to be sat at this table.
Oh, well, we can ask him about it. We can ask him about it. It'll be interesting.
We're going to grill you. No, but we are.
Anyway.
Roland was I think we obviously spoke about Roland today. Just as a quick tidbit, like Roland is the individual who's doing amazing work communicating what's going on in AI today in the UK, in Europe, and going forward. Do we have?
I'm just trying to get.
What's going on here?
I'm just trying to get. There we go.
You're trying to get in. Oh, Hercules.
Yeah.
Hercules is right there.
Oh my God. Okay, he's gone.
That's our Hercules noise from now on. Very good.
Love it. Do we have Salim in the waiting room?
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Let's bring him in.
Let's bring Salim in here.
Here he is. Let's go. Looking sharp, Salim.
Looking very sharp, Salim.
I don't know what that says to how I normally look, but I'll take it.
Dude, not at all.
That's great.
Welcome to the show. We've been excited to do this since we started speaking, man. I think both sides, right? Like you've been incredibly excited, we've been incredibly excited. It's really cool to be able to make this happen. A lot of the hard work that we've been doing, Luke and I, and also you included, has built what we're sat in right now. We're really excited to do this, and it's so good to have you on finally.
Yeah, equally. Thanks for having me on. It's 6:30 in the morning here in Los Angeles, but congrats. This is a big day for you guys. So congrats on the relaunch.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate it, man. Early Rise, thank you for doing it. We really wanted to have you here today. I think maybe for the listeners and the viewers, do you want to maybe give an introduction as to who you are, what Powerhouse Capital is? We gave a little bit of one earlier when the show started, but it's probably better coming from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, no, great. Powerhouse Capital, as I mentioned, based here in Los Angeles, specific, very focused venture firm, focusing on investment in tech-driven sports, media, and entertainment. So that's all we do, sports and media. So it's actually like a really great place to sit because we're here in Los Angeles, the heart and epicenter of the creative industry and sports. And just given our backgrounds, we bring together sort of the best of LA with the best of Silicon Valley. So innovation and tech, and then sort of the best of just, I guess, the best principles of building businesses. So we actually started within the walls of CAA, Creative Artist Agency. It's the world's largest, along with WME, sports and media agency. And we were managing a sleeve of capital from, at then, the owner of the business, a big private equity firm called TPG. But really where it comes and where it's relevant here is legacy media used to be very geographically constrained. Think radio stations, newspapers, even television stations. And then with the advent of technology, you could take these legacy businesses, add technology, and create global platforms. Think YouTube, think Netflix. And so we've been investing behind that theme and thesis for about a decade. My partner and I, we started within the walls of CAA and continue to invest in tech-driven sports media and entertainment. And a small personal note, I spent about 12 plus years in Europe, most of that time in London, but Spain, France, Portugal. And so this is, in a sense, very exciting for us to continue to invest behind the theme of the globalization and digitization of media, but also, to back you guys, being that you guys are based in London.
Let's go. Wait, Euromaxing. Slim's been Euromaxing since it was cool. That's awesome.
I'm sure it's not just because we're in Europe, but I wanted to ask probably a question that's probably never been asked before from on the live show of the company that you've invested in. But why invest in ETN? What's the thesis behind ETN? I want to get it, from you. Why invest in us?
Yeah, great. You guys can correct me afterwards if I speak out of line. But look, it's a combination of what you guys have done and then the thesis. We're very thesis driven on how we look at things. And I can talk about some of the companies we've backed in the past, but specifically with you guys, look, massive momentum and growth. You guys, we've talked privately about some of our favorite essays from Y Combinator and Paul Graham about startups equal growth, doing the things that don't scale initially, but finding ways to scale. But I would say the first thing is what we look for in companies we invest in. We have these three criteria. We want to invest in platforms that are data-driven and direct to community. So why platforms? Platforms because they're network effects. It's not just, when people think media, they think, we get lots of calls from people saying, Luke says, oh, my cousin's doing a movie. Do you want to invest in that? And like, look, that's just one-off content risk. What we want are platforms. And network effects, there's a winner-take-all dynamic behind it. Mm-hmm. And a platform, the more content, the more contributors, the more audience that can be added and get value from the platform, the more valuable it is to every prior and future participant in that ecosystem. So that's the first thing. We want platforms that have network effects. And I think when we saw ETN and the momentum you guys have, we saw the potential there that ETN could be a category defining company in the space. The second thing is data driven, which people use the word data a lot, but the way we think about it is personalization at scale. One of our we have a lot of investors from the legacy media space, cable companies. So when you turn on in your instance, your Skybox, if you guys still have them, it's on channel 1 or the last channel you were watching. But when you flip on your Netflix or your Spotify, every single person's start page is personalized and customized, the same way your X feed is. So if you could use data to actually personalize, learn from the data in real time, and then the things that you guys are doing around, it's not just live, but it's clips. And if you can customize them to what my interests may be, then you really have an advantage. And that's how you differ from legacy media companies. So a platform with network effects, data-driven personalization. The third element we call D2C, but we call it direct to community. It's the new direct to consumer because a community has a lot more texture. It has flesh and blood. Like, who are your fans and your super fans? Yeah. And so we think about, in the olden days, maybe even a decade ago, the Times, the newspaper, Times of London, had no idea really what pages of the newspaper you read or what you were interested in. We were big investors in a company called The Athletic, which we sold to the New York Times. One of the things that we had, it was a platform, it was data driven. We knew that you were a supporter of Leeds United or you liked the Tour de France and cycling. But then this direct to community, we actually knew who people were and we knew who our super fans were. We had their credit cards, we had their mailing address. We could send them a text message the same way Netflix will text you when, the next season of, Stranger Things is on. And so we think this direct to community is really important. I think the one thing that we'll talk about, we've seen in a lot of things we've invested in, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Pareto principle. where 80% of your business is generated from 20% of your users, customers, your super fans. What we've seen is actually the digital Pareto principle is actually 90-10. 10% of your audience and your fans drive 90% of everything, whether it's your views, your revenues, etc. And so as you think about this legacy media to digital media, you have this acceleration of the importance of network effects, of the importance of personalization, of the importance of being direct to community. And so, as we saw it, that this was, you guys were building something that we thought could become, as I said, a category defining company. The very, very last thing I'll say is Europe it kind of feels like the new frontier. The way I was talking about media was very geographically constrained.
Yeah.
Europe, just based on languages and culture, the BBC homepage is very different than Le Monde, and it's very different than what Axel Springer or Bild or something in Germany would have, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's an opportunity to build a European platform that brings that ecosystem together.
Sure.
You guys have your work cut out for you, but that's exciting to us as well.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to touch on, and maybe there's some similarities, and maybe we're getting some alpha from you as well, as we do every week when we have our call. But I wanted to talk about the deal of The Athletic, and why you feel like that was such a blockbuster deal. What made it so special, and what do you take from that deal and that experience that then you look at when you look at another company and think, okay, these guys have got this kind of secret sauce that I feel like something like The Athletic had when you guys first invested and then when you ultimately sold it.
I think you could make the argument that The Athletic was probably one of the first creator economy businesses. And the way that we always thought about it was there was something happening where we call it the massification of media.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I use the Times as an example, or the Guardian, it's a national newspaper. But if you live in Tyneside, or you live in Leeds, or you live in anywhere outside of London, most of the stories do not mean anything to you. Mm-hmm. And so it created this massive opportunity of you can build this canopy of news with strong local roots. And so the reason I say The Athletic was probably one of the first creator economy businesses is we started hiring talent in each of the cities. And when you bring that together, you sort of have that platform effect, that network effect, where now when New York is playing Los Angeles, you've got a writer in each, the best in breed of each, and you can kind of build this national umbrella from local strong roots versus the massification of media where everyone just went to what's the most popular story in the nation and it's ignoring 95% of the news.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think, the big lesson there, and then, we brought, given that, I mentioned I lived in Europe for so long, became a big fan of European sports, including English Premier League soccer, Champions League, F1, we helped bring The Athletic to Europe and, being sports fans. And what that ended up happening actually is bringing that news of the English Premier League or Champions League to an American audience and vice versa, and to an Asian audience. To keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening, news is inherently local, right? And this gets back to those local roots. So no matter how hard we try in America, if you go to I was talking about homepages, if you go to the homepage of the New York Times, everyone says, oh, well, if you look at the BBC, it feels like there's a whole other world happening. It's the same thing. I'll listen, I'll watch on the television, I'll watch CNBC here in America, and then I'll turn on Bloomberg. And it's almost like you're watching two different streams of what's happening in the world. So when we think about you guys, sure, there are some people doing what you guys are doing, and you guys were inspired by some of them. But the same way that example I gave with Bloomberg versus CNBC, there is just something inherently different about news being local and you guys being on the ground. And if there's an opportunity to replicate that in multiple markets geographically and also from an industry perspective, it adds a ton of value to the overall ecosystem of tech-driven news.
Sure.
Yeah. That's super interesting. I think a part of that as well is like these changes or progressions or evolutions of media, or even on like a consumption level. And this is something that we've discussed, off camera earlier. But these ways in which you can organize. You have a theory around organizing the space around. The 4 ways people consume media. Can you, we've walked through this, I don't know, would you call it a playbook, or you just call it like a guidebook, or we've walked through it off camera. Can you maybe just refresh us again live so the viewers and listeners can learn from this as well?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we think about all the ways. Well, first of all, taking a step back, we try to invest in things that people are passionate about. Our other moniker is, we say, what are people religious about? Beyond religion, right? And it's sport, it's music, it's communities that they, it's news, these types of things where you will go and you want to consume the latest of what's going on, and then you also want to go deeper.
Yeah.
And so we organize this around the principles. It's almost like the 4 senses of media, all the ways that ultimately we think every successful media business, and you're seeing this, needs to have their foot in each 4 of these areas. And we call it sight, sound, play, and live. So sight, visual content. Big investments of ours, we mentioned The Athletic. Right now we have a joint venture around media with the PGA Tour in golf.
Yeah.
So it's actually around digital, social media. We have a show on Netflix, but that fits within the sight category. That's visual content. So that's sight. Sound is music, audio, podcasting. We think that, we think dollars follow attention, right? So people spend a lot of time watching news, but you spend a lot of time in your earbuds and listening to news. Sometimes you're listening to YouTube, right? I mean, that's part of what drives a lot of YouTube Premium, is that you can listen in the background. So we were big investors in podcasting, a company called Wondery, which we sold to Amazon. Calm, the mindfulness meditation app, another London-born based company. If you haven't had those guys on, you probably should. And so that's sound.
You got to
right?
hook it up, Salim. You got to hook it up.
Yeah, we'll do that. Those guys are great. So that's sight and sound. And within sound, there is a lot of YouTube as well, and insight. And then play is gaming and interactive in sports. And it's just, what's the interactive layer to your product, right? You see a lot of even news websites, et cetera, putting in elements of here's Kalshi, here's Polymarket. You can bet on the news. You can bet, not predict in the prediction markets, but even things like crossword puzzles, New York Times. That's interactive. That's the play aspect of it. As you know, the New York Times, that's one of their biggest, fastest growing areas is Wordle and things like that. So sight, sound, play, and then live, which is actually pretty. It seems contrarian, but it's the experience economy, and we call it the real and the artificial, right? So people. I think, in this new post-COVID era, pun intended, I guess, Taylor Swift, her concerts were really sparked people actually, and those prices were crazy. But then when you look at the prices for people going to the World Cup, which has happened here in America, obviously, and then you think about the audiences that live experiences drive. Now, you guys are live. Clever line, what a time to be live. The cool thing about that is, the experience economy, it's not just being there live, and we call it the real and artificial being artificial intelligence. The more time we spend in front of screens and with agents that we don't know, the more valuable the other end of the barbell is of real experiences. And we've had this thesis for a while, and it's just becoming more and more important. So as I said, ironically, the more valuable tech becomes, the more valuable the real experiences become. There's one other point on that around live and experiential is you can be live. It adds tremendous amount of credibility for the downstream windows, because then when you clip it and you share it, people know that, yes, Luke and Ronan are real, and your guests that you had were real. Can you chop them up into shorts and clips and then distribute them on these digital and social platforms where the audience already is, where frankly, legacy media wants to build up that direct to community line. So that experiential economy is so important. So sight, sound, play, live. We look at it through any investments through those lenses, and through what I talked about earlier, if they're platform and data driven and direct to community.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting play because even like saying that out loud now, like it's, there are areas where like you can isolate one of those 4 things, but okay, how are we crossing through this? Like, what are we doing to cross through this? And just like, you can almost just plug and play. Like, let's take all 4 of these off, and then you're off to the races in a way.
Yeah,
I'm simplifying it. I'm simplifying it.
No. That's absolutely right, and it's a lot of times it's the driving factor behind not just why we invest, but down the line why companies buy certain companies. I mentioned a couple of them, the New York Times and Amazon, and we work closely with a lot of these legacy media companies here. I use legacy in a proper sense. They've been around for a while. Fox and Rupert Murdoch has shown a real propensity to think about how do we get into the new technologies. One story I'll tell about just content and distribution. So we've been really fortunate to be backed and work closely with the John Malone companies, the original, they call him the cable cowboy, but he founded many entities and is on the board of many entities, but his primary 2 are Liberty Media, which own Formula One, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, Liberty Global, large cable networks, they own Formula E, Virgin Media, O2, their presence in London. And, he used to talk about obviously owning the digital pipes. He used to talk about content being the queen and distribution being the king. And it kind of like goes back and forth. And then eventually, at a certain point, Michael Eisner of Disney would be like, or Jeffrey Katzenberg would say, no, content is king, distribution is queen. The way we think about it, as you pull all that together is we say content is king, super important, but distribution is the kingmaker. And you think about all these shows that were on regular television, but as soon as they get on Netflix, bam, they pop. And so distribution is so important. And so when you think about what you guys are building with this platform with digital distribution, it just, content is just, you've got to have high quality content. But if you can develop and use data to figure out, hey, here's the best way, the most efficient way to distribute and get direct to community, what you'll sort of see is what we think is instead of this sort of pendulum shifting of content is king, distribution is queen, and vice versa, it's content's king, distribution's kingmaker. And so another takeaway I would say is like really focus on better understanding how to reach that audience with the right content at the right time.
Super valuable. I can already tell this is going to be a great clip. This is like a short crash course. We're
going to king
other than the time zone difference. Yeah, other than the time zone difference, it's going to be a great fit.
You got a lot of early days ahead of you, Salim. Dude, thank you so much for jumping on with us. Absolute pleasure. We will let you get back to your busy day.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thanks, guys.
We'll see you soon. Have a good one. Salim Mithra, everybody, co-founder, managing partner at Powerhouse Capital. Awesome. That is all the guests for today, but there is a quick round. We should probably just explain what's happening tomorrow, actually, because this is new for everyone. So we should probably sort of outlay like what is the schedule going forward? What is the plan going forward? I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but there's probably some more people in the stream. I think there's about 3,000 plus here right now. But this is now a daily live show. This is live from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. UK. Every single day, Monday to Friday. We'll be getting on everybody who's attached to news in the ecosystem, anybody who's trending at that point, anyone who has something to say, and we will try and elevate discourse around AI, technology, business, finance, everything that comes in between. Tomorrow, we have 2 guests coming on, not announced yet. Well, one is
Semi,
which we kind of already announced a little bit, and then also TechCrunch announced, which is my doing. We have Rishi Sunak coming on at 12:30, ex-Prime Minister of the UK, coming on to talk about AI and what is going on in the country and also the continent.
He's currently a senior advisor of Anthropic and Microsoft,
which would be good.
And Goldman Sachs, I believe, does an incredible job of working with thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even millions of SMBs up and down the country. So he has some incredible insights to share with us, which we're very, very excited about.
Yep, and also just another one that we booked a while ago, a previous friend of the show as well, Sauraj over at Prior Labs, going to be walking us through what's going on after the acquisition has gone through. They had one of the largest European outcomes of all time, a €1 billion acquisition, which we can't wait to dig into all about with him from SAP. So he'll be coming on, breaking that down. I don't think we've seen anything since the acquisition around what's actually going on with that, but it's looking really good. And he's going to come on and talk to us what's the plan moving forward. But
indeed, speaking about one business to another great business, Framer. Framer build better sites faster, the all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. We migrated ETN to Framer ourselves. It was easy. Go and check out etnshow.co.
Go on ETN Show. How do we cut this? Oh, you restarted it. Oh, there you go. No, boom. Go to the website, check it out. You can see how to contact us if you want to come on the show. We are now open for business. It is every day, ladies and gentlemen. Every single day we will be live interviewing the greatest and best European and American operators, founders, VCs, live from near King's Cross.
Just before we end the stream, can we get a wide? Can we get the team? Team, can you? I don't know, they're probably a bit delayed. Please come over. We're going to do a bit of a team.
Let's get. It's like an old sitcom thing. Everyone comes in and
please. You don't need to dance. Just come down here.
Let me take a picture. Let's go. Woo. This has been ETN's first episode back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the European Technology Network. We are live every day. Monday to Friday.
We'll
coming
see
at
you tomorrow live at 12 p.m. See you soon. Thanks for joining. Ciao.
Ciao.
For sure.
For sure.